Well, hello, everybody. Hi. It's time for the show. We have an almost 100% like rate 24 viewers, 19 likes. That's pretty good. Like, I wasn't even here yet. I think we're doing okay. Thank you so much for the couple donations that came in before we even started. Kitty Tick with the tier 2 sub says, LOL, blue for the time being, but purple shall be mine again soon. Also, what's in the box? We slacking people. Coins for the Moss Dragon. True. Thank you very much. And then there a second donation that came in? For some reason it's just not showing up uh on the chat. What does the beanie say? It says unus, anus, unus, anus. Which it was a art installation that has now been deleted. Nice look today, you stylin'. This is me being fucking cold. And you all were wondering, like, what are the asterisks in the title? John Bainbridge, you got it. It's fucking. Let's talk about the fucking news. I'm not in a good mood. Not because of the news, but because So the night before last night, so it's cold. It's winter in Kansas, okay? Which means it's getting into the teens at night. And I have one of those houses where, like, the bedrooms are just far enough away from. Oh, okay. Tier 2 sub. That must have been Zypation. Okay, cool. Yes, thank you. I don't know why, but that it did not show up for me on my little daily bopper that shows me donations, which is so weird. But thank you. Very much appreciate that. So 2 nights ago, I have one of those houses that, like, the bedrooms are far enough away from the thermostat, and especially, like, at nighttime, like, so the house is 70 degrees according to the thermostat, but then in the bedroom it gets very cold. So the night before last night, I slept very poorly because the temperature was just too cold, right? So a couple things. I put the space heater on last night, and that was much better. And then we also swapped the blankets because we have a blanket that we've been using for the summer, and it, helps things stay nice and aerated. But so right before bed last night, I developed a headache, and then I woke up and still had that headache. So basically, all night I was trying to sleep with a headache. So I feel like garbage today, if we're being completely honest. I don't know if we're doing a normal length stream or not today. Because, like, yeah, I did finally take some ibuprofen, and I think that has helped a little bit, but that does not make me any happier right now. It's fucking snowing right now in Wisconsin. I fucking hate the snow. I was beginning to think that maybe I was becoming a freak who likes winter, but then it turns out, like, no, I don't like winter. I like snow. I like looking at snow and being in it for very short periods of time, but I don't like this thing where. Does anybody else have this where you can't set the heat very high? Like, so here's the thing. If I set the heat, so the AC during the summer, we set it at like 73. And then in the winter, like, I would love to be able to set it to a similar temperature, but let's say we set it to 71. But then in the evening, I like cook dinner and all the computers are on and everybody's home and it generates a lot of heat. And so sometimes, like, if I set the temperature too high, by the time it's bedtime, it's like 75 degrees in here, which is too warm for us to deal with. So I can't set the thermostat very high during the day. So I'm just fucking freezing. I'm like wearing a hat and this coat makes me overheat a lot of the time. And now it's like I'm still cold. So I had to switch from one pair of pajama pants to a different pair of pajama pants that are warmer. Like, I'm just gonna complain a lot. Just don't feel good, guys. It's so shit when you don't sleep for like a couple nights in a row. It's like everything is wrong. Everything just feels bad. But just drink water. It feels like below zero in Minneapolis and it's been snowing on and off. God, people have been suggesting. I've been talking about moving across the country, right? I'm moving to the Pacific Northwest. I've had people be like, hey, you should move to Pennsylvania. I've had people be like, hey, you should move to Minneapolis. Like, I've been to Minneapolis before and I have a lot of friends there, actually, or I used to. I don't really know those people actively anymore, but I'm like, it gets frigidly cold in the winter in Minnesota and really hot in the summer, and they have big, big snow blizzards. I'm like, why the fuck would I want to live in Minnesota? Anyway, I don't envy you. It's not even Christmas yet, and it's like snowing and basically feels like zero in Minneapolis. Like, I salute you. Someone needs a hug. That's true. I just haven't been feeling good. I'm definitely not doing a very good job of taking care of myself. I could be doing more stretching and exercise and taking time away from my computer and everything, and it's just not happening. I'm just super, super, super stressed right now. And I don't know that that's going to change for a while. I endured Iowa for 8 years. I will survive Minneapolis winter, I hope. I think you'll do okay. Hey, you should move to Western New York. There's only a few feet of snow. Ah! I was worried. I was like, oh, it barely snows in the Pacific Northwest. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to be sad. But then winter starts to actually happen, and I'm like, I fucking hate this. I hate it so much. I don't like winter. Oh, God. It's my favorite how the baby calms right down when you show up on stream. Not surprising, they've been hearing your vocal rhythm since they got ears because we use a subwoofer, and you have a nice depth to your voice, so about a year of listening for them. That's so crazy. I love the idea that, like, I might meet a baby who was born and, like, has been listening to me since they were in the womb. Like, I'm gonna meet this baby and they're gonna be like, yay! Eastern Oregon and Washington is high desert, but most of the western is maritime climate. We get snow up in the mountains. Yeah, so that means that I can look at snow. I'll be able to be like, yo, look at the snow in those mountains. And then look at where I am, where it's raining and not snowing. Oh, geez. Worst thing about winter is that it brings out all the stupid drivers. Yeah. People don't know. Like, I mean, it happens in rain too. But those first couple snows of the year, people just don't know. Like, you need to slow down. Your tires are probably all-weather tires and not winter tires, or maybe not even rain tires. And your all-weather tires are probably old anyway. Should warn you, the few times it does snow in Oregon, nobody knows how to drive in it. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I'm just not planning. I just try not to go anywhere when it's snowing. Which, if it only snows like once per winter, then it's easy. Easy to just be like, I'm just going to let you all get in car accidents and I'm going to stay inside. I'm just going to stay inside. Just getting some water in before I really settle into this whole thing. I've been very forgetful about drinking water, too. Yeah, can you imagine being a baby and you, like, see a thing on TV and then suddenly that thing is in real life? Like, oh, this is not just a thing on the TV anymore. It's like when you see a teacher in the grocery store and you're like, oh my God, this teacher exists outside the context of the school? That's crazy. People are just stupid drivers in general, even on dry roads. Listen, that's true. I have been seeing so much silly decisions, like so many silly decisions, so much bad driving. And I had this like suspicion that it had gotten worse in the last few years. And then there's a study actually that just recently came out that says people are worse drivers now, and it's directly, you can draw a causal relationship with that and like COVID infections. Winters in Casey are way different than when they were when I was a kid. What do you view as a difference, Chuck? Because I feel like, I had like a cousin who was born in early December, and it was like a blizzard. It was like an 8-inch snow blizzard. And I feel like that doesn't happen anymore. It's cold, but I feel like it doesn't snow here as much as it used to. It'll make young childhood fun because they're like, where do I go to meet the cartoons? I mean, Disney World, right? Yeah. Or which one is where? Disney World, Disneyland. Oh, Disney World is in Florida and Disneyland is in California, right? I just saw one of those like conspiracy posts and it showed like Disney World, which has ORL in it, which is like for Orlando, Florida. And then Disneyland has LA in it for California. So if that mnemonic device rings true, then I will always know forever and ever which one is where. Yeah, we just don't get white Christmases around here anymore. Yeah, which kind of makes me feel like it's going to be easier for me to drive to the Pacific Northwest um in January cuz like man, last year or like I guess earlier this year here in Kansas it was like 50 degrees all throughout January. It was so warm. It was crazy. If it's going to snow in Oregon, it happens in January and February. Oh, cool. Yay. Mm. I know that the water bottle is so much more obtrusive now. I got this water bottle because I liked that it had this straw, but it turns out that drinking through a straw all the time makes you for some reason you breathe in or you swallow a lot of air. And I've had a lot of like weird gastrointestinal symptoms, so I'm trying to um do anything that I can do to reduce the gas. Why are you doing that? Huh? My cat is making noise. Do you have a hairball? Gross baby? Okay, well, whatever. Best advice ever my dad ever gave me on driving was everyone is actively trying to kill you. That's actually kind of true if you're a motorcyclist. Like you sometimes people will actively like swerve toward you or like hit you. And I know that that's the case for bicycles as well, but it's for motorcycles too. You do have to defensively drive and be like I need to act like I'm invisible on the road because otherwise people will just push. According to everyone I met when we moved to the Pacific Northwest said we only get snow every few years, yet we have had snow and even record snow every year since I moved in. Also, some places are becoming temperate deserts like the east part of Oregon and Washington, which is looking to happen in Kansas after disrupting so much wetlands. Looking to see the whole Midwest Dust Bowl all over again because there just won't be any water in the table to speak of. Well, to be fair, you we're reestablishing wetlands here, and there are more trees here than there used to be, which I know is not the same. Because the great thing about wetlands and like prairie grasses is that the roots of prairie grasses are at least as tall as they are. Like, I don't know if you have all have ever been to a prairie before or a wetlands, but the grasses are like 7 feet tall. You know, if you were to walk in to the grasses, you would just fucking disappear. You're just gone. And the roots are at least that deep, if not like, more like 11 or 12, maybe even 15 feet deep into the ground. So that's why they sequester a lot of carbon and they retain moisture. Like that, like prairie and wetland kind of are. I don't know if this is actually true from an ecological standpoint, but from what I have witnessed, it seems to me like prairie and wetland are kind of the same biome, if that makes any sense. Like, like a forest is a biome and like desert is a biome. It seems like prairie and wetland are just kind of the same thing because, yeah, in a prairie, if there's anywhere where there's like a dip, like the ground is retaining so much water that you end up with like ponds and stuff that retain that moisture, uh, and which also gives rise to reeds like cattails, which seem to be basically like part of a prairie biome, but I'm not certain. So it's like it ostensibly would be better here than the actual Dust Bowl, because in the actual Dust Bowl they had cleared out all of these prairie grasses and established all this farmland, and like the more you irrigate the topsoil, the more like loose and dusty it becomes. So you have all this really intense agriculture, very few trees, and they hadn't started planting a lot of trees yet. So like it's better than it was. But yes, drought is definitely going to continue to be a problem. And we are attempting to restore our wetlands. But I think the Supreme Court of the United States just recently passed something, or I guess passed is the wrong word, but basically they had indicated that protection of wetlands is not something under the purview of the federal government, um, or that the federal government doesn't have an interest in protecting wetlands. I can't remember. We talked about it on stream already at some point in the past, but it really is up to the localities now to preserve the wetlands, which is a bummer. When you drink through a straw, you suck up all the air in the straw before you even get the drink. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. As a storm chaser, the single biggest hazard I face is just mundane driving hazard. It's not tornadoes or hail or rain, just driving. Yeah, like driving is more dangerous than going on a roller coaster. It's more dangerous than flying. And it seems like that's just only increasing. But yeah, I'm a very defensive driver. I avoid driving in inclement weather. I don't really like driving at night. At night, it's already like hard to see, but if you compound that with like, oh, it's wet and also nighttime, I can't fucking see the lines on the road. Like, I don't know if that's just a me thing because I have an astigmatism and I can't focus very well. But you've got all these reflections. I also don't really like driving through wooded areas on a sunny day, because if the sun is coming through all these leaves and there's all this dappled light on the road, I find that that's kind of disorienting. I don't love it, but I'm a really good driver, so I just drive slower when I'm feeling less confident. One of my first times on my motorcycle, someone actually did that to me right in front of the police station. Like, swerved at you right in front of a police station. Washington/Oregon historically has been in a state of mild to severe drought for decades at this point, which is kind of crazy to me because you think of both Oregon and Washington as like, oh, they're so rainy. But I guess it's like the mountain range kind of bisects that area. And so on the coastal side, like, sure, it's wet, but on the inland side of the coastal, it's not the coastal mountains. The coastal mountains are like on the left. That is the Cascades. On the east side of the Cascades, I guess, yeah, I guess it's just like, and I mean, it makes sense too because California is along that same latitude. Which one? This one's latitude, this one's longitude? I can't fucking remember. I actually think it's an oblate spheroid. It's smushing this way, so this one's longitude around, and then latitude is long ways. So they're at the same latitude, which would indicate that, like, yeah, it makes sense. If California is frequently in a drought, then other places on the West Coast would also be in a drought. Come to Colorado, we have literal sand dunes. I've actually been there before. I think it's in Colorado or it's in Western Kansas or something. But one time, I have a grandparent who lived in California, or sorry, in Colorado, and I would go to visit her, and we visited the sand dunes one time. It was pretty cool. I agree, Drea. Protection of all life should be the purview of all our governments. it's just it's not getting better. Like I was talking about it on Blue Sky. I functionally don't post on Twitter anymore. Like I still have Twitter and I look there to see what the news is, but since this most recent wave of people joining Blue Sky, I kind of don't really need to go on Twitter anymore because so much of this conversation about what's going on in the news is happening on Blue Sky now. But I post on Blue Sky and I was responding to Bugs Matrix and they were saying, you know, like, oh wow, it just feels bad that things are going to keep getting worse. And I was like, yeah, this is why I'm embracing absurdism. I didn't realize until quite recently that that is what I am doing. When I'm like, yo, I'm going to talk about fiction, I'm going to talk about movies, I'm going to like use that as my lens through which to talk about politics, if and when I talk about politics, like on my main videos on the channel. And I kind of just realized like that is what I'm doing. I'm embracing absurdism. Like I'm not a doomer. That's not my response to these things. I'm not going, I'm just gonna lie down and rot. I'm just gonna kill myself. Like I'm just gonna whatever. And I know that some people respond to this like, guys, I don't even know if Luigi Mangione is the guy, if I'm being completely honest. But let's just say the adjuster. I'm not like the adjuster. I'm not gonna go shoot somebody. Like I'm like, whatever. I'm just gonna think about silly things. I'm gonna post about my nipple piercings and... Ooh, here's something real quick. Okay. Tips for bottoming. Anybody? Because I didn't get very many responses to that tweet of mine, the skeet of mine, the post that I made on Blue Sky that was like, yo, does anybody have any tips for bottoming? So now I'm asking all of you, what are your tips? Bonus points if they are IBS friendly. Wetlands exhale a lot of water into the air. Most water doesn't get into the sky through evaporation. It's part of plant respiration. Trees do that as well, but they like to preserve water below them and use it less freely than wetlands plants. Basically, without them, the drought will continue to deepen, I bet. We really missed the boat on what matters in ecosystems. Can't kill all apex predators, true. Wetlands matter for birds and droughts. We also drained the largest wetland that existed on the west coast when we farmed the Willamette Valley. It was a near continuous stretch from mid-Washington to northern Cali. Use poppers? No. Lube? Well, yeah, that's okay. So it's more the question of like cleanliness, you know? That's kind of the direction of the questions that I have. Okay, good advice, Kitty. Thank you. A huge problem is also the snow melt. We are losing glaciers left and right. Yeah, yeah. And guys, so you know is it Wired? Wired that has those videos. How do you preventative cleanliness? I'm like, like what should you eat the day before, or like should you not eat for a while beforehand, or like is douching something that you should do? Is it necessary to douche? These are the kind of questions that I have. Take half an Imodium. Okay. But only on special occasions. Okay, good to know. I love the juxtaposition of like we're talking about I'm like talking about the environment and then like swerve hard in a different direction to talking about bottoming. Yeah, in a box. What's up? Listen. Generally avoid fats, eat lots of fiber. Okay, cool. Eat vegetarian that day and eat lightly. Anal douche ahead of time. Don't go crazy with fruit. This is what the most clean gay boy I ever met taught me. Yeah. Because I've seen people talk about like they basically just don't eat all day prior to bottoming, which doesn't seem good. Wife says shower, douche, prep for at least an hour. Oh, prep for at least an hour. Okay. Okay. And I'm assuming that like doing gay bottom shit like on a semi-regular basis is good to maintain your readiness. That's my assumption. I accidentally spat on my microphone. I'm just cleaning it off a little bit. Sorry. Bottoming in the rain. I have IBS and I never douche. Usually, as long as my tummy doesn't hurt and I don't feel like I need to go, I'm good to go. Okay, cool. I never prep because, yeah, I mean, you're creating a barrier. If you're like, if there's a lot of work that goes into it, then, you're just not going to do it, which, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Spitting on mic whilst talking about this, yeah. I think I may have gleeked a little bit. That feel when you just kind of randomly spit, like, and like shoots out. I don't know. Don't douche too much because you don't want to leave water in there by mistake. Okay. See, this was much more useful than posting about it on Blue Sky. I've already gotten so much more information than I did on Blue Sky. Way too much effort for only a bit of fun. Yeah, fair. Also, prep can be a couple's activity. I have considered that. Yeah, yeah. Eat lightly, like charcuterie, like crackers and veggie and fruit, no meats. Okay, no meat. Got it. Can someone explain to me what the fuck poppers are? Like, I understand what they're for, but like, what is it? How do you get a hold of it? Is it even legal? Like, are they legal medicines or is it like a street drug? Yes, gleeking is weird and I only ever do it on accident. I never do it on purpose. Digested food can sit in your gut for a couple of days, just so you know. Yeah. Maintaining readiness is really just about being used to it more than a physical thing. It's all in your head. You just gotta relax. Okay, good. Alkyl nitrites. Poppers is legal. Okay. It's like one of those cultural things that I hear about and then I just don't know. I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what they do. Is it like a muscle relaxer? I don't really understand. So now like I can at least research into it, even if I'm not like a person who's gonna do do women use poppers? Like, do people assigned female use poppers? Because I literally only ever hear it about gay men. I know that I just fumbled my words there. You all know what I'm trying to say. Like, I only hear about people assigned male, like trans women and gay men using poppers. But like, do like female porn stars use poppers? Okay, interesting. Y'all have so much fun information. uh Oh, it's something you inhale. Okay, weird. The thing that's odd to me, why bottom if you don't actually like it, given that poppers are muscle relaxants? Well, it's the thing is that like I think that it's like people mentally want to do it, but then your body like needs to be coaxed into relaxing into it. Like you can really want it, and then like because you have like two sphincters. Fun thing here, you have two sphincters in your butthole, and the one on the outside you have like manual control over, but the other one is autonomic. So that's why people say that you should like use a butt plug first or like use something smaller because you're trying to convince your autonomic nervous system to relax that inner sphincter. Like that's where the pain tends to come from, is if you're not totally relaxed in that. And so it's not like, oh, I don't even like it, so I'm going to take poppers to make it easier. You know, it's like you want to do it, but your body has limitations. Like you want to deep throat, but you have a gag reflex. You know, you don't have control over that. To some extent, you can train it, but it's like you don't. It's not like you don't like sucking dick if you can't get your throat to relax. I don't know, man. Differing opinions. Some people say don't even do poppers, like just practice. I appreciate your honesty, Kitty. There are also multiple different kinds of poppers. Okay, this seems like an area that I'm going to continue to not delve into. I think that I'm probably just going to continue not to do that. Guess preparation and foreplay don't work consistently for the autonomic portion. Well, okay, keeping in mind too that the primary context in which I see poppers is for hookups, where maybe you don't want to spend a lot of time on foreplay. Um, you know, new channel name. Yeah, Kestrel. I changed the channel name a month or two ago. I actually originally just changed it to Musing Moss, but then some people were saying that they were still confused. And I'm like, okay, I want to make sure people know that it's me posting videos. So I put the Luxander back in there. But I guess the ideal situation is that eventually I take that out. But it, you know, like there are people who are here like 2 months later who still don't know that I've changed the channel name. So yes. The reason why I changed the channel name, if you haven't heard, is that so we still talk about politics here on stream, but I'm no longer posting stream highlights to the channel. So I'm going to do more video essay type stuff, which if you haven't seen, I have actually posted 2 video essays. They're both very short. One was like 8 minutes and the other one was like 11 minutes. And I'm working on another one right now that's probably going to be a little bit longer. This one is not so much of a video essay, but it is a movie review. So I'm switching to doing more. I'm doing politics stuff, but from that angle of it's a movie review, which lots of other channels do that. Like, that's kind of, isn't that kind of how we define BreadTube? I feel like BreadTube is sort of, I mean, yeah, you've got people like ContraPoints who are considered part of BreadTube. And I know that this is an outdated term that we don't really use so much anymore. But for, you know, Jack Saint and Lindsay Ellis, those people being considered part of like the BreadTube area, it's like that those people are talking about politics, but they are talking about it from the context of here's a movie, let's talk about the politics of this movie. Excuse me. So that's kind of the direction that I'm taking my channel. I'm currently working on a review of Will Ferrell's documentary on Netflix with his friend Harper Steele, who's a trans woman. So this video that I'm working on is probably going to be more in line with what people are familiar with from me. Because it's like, you know, she is wanting, basically they're road tripping across America to reintroduce Harper to America as herself. So it exists very much in the context of these trans laws passing and hostility toward trans people. And like, yeah. So yeah, Will and Harper is the name of the documentary. I've watched it once. I'm currently watching through it the second time and taking notes on it this time. So basically my plan for this one is going to be an outlined response or review. that is not going to be strictly scripted, but it will be edited, and I will cut in scenes or at least B-roll from the documentary. And yeah, and I'm sure that there will be a lot. I have got so many notes right now. I don't think I'm going to include all of the stuff that I have written down because I'm like about halfway through the movie and I already have like a page and a half of notes. It's kind of crazy. So, yeah, that's the plan. And then the next video that will come out after that will be a dragon review. I have not decided which movie I'm doing. I'm guessing it's going to be Dragonheart, but yeah. I've been meaning to ask about the name change. Is it a full rebrand? I noticed the line hosts are still calling you by your old channel name. Yeah, so part of the thing is that the name Luxander is very, 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 very tied up in the trans politics identity, if that makes any sense. So I feel within my thank you, Lynn. One more second. I'll read your super chat in just a second. The Luxander brand, if you want to say, is very tied up in the politics of like being trans. So it seems fair, since I am operating in that capacity for the line, because I'm on the Transatlantic Call-In show. It's the whole fucking point of the thing. I don't really mind continuing to use that brand in that context, but I do want to differentiate my channel and my video essays. I want them to exist in a way that is a little bit more distinct. Like, yeah, I'm still going to talk about trans stuff. I have this trans documentary. I kind of want to do like, I kind of want to respond to a whole lot of different trans movies. I think that could be fun. But I don't want to like have that be the primary thing that the channel is. Like, I want to have the opportunity to speak about things. I'm obviously, I'm always going to be coming from the perspective of being trans, but I don't want to feel like I'm boxed into that. So musing Moss is like more broad, more intellectual, less reactive, and more measured. So those are kind of the goals that I have with that rebrand. So it's like a partial rebrand, I guess, where like my presence on the internet is going to be fractured now, where like the trans stuff is kind of under the name Luxander, and my broader media analysis stuff is more under the purview of Musing Moss. Thank you, Lynn, for your $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Sorry, I just needed to finish that thought before I got derailed. I did not take any Ritalin today because of the headache that I have. Conservative outrage to the CEO assassination just goes to show, in the end, it's not how much money you have in life, it's how you are remembered. True. Truly. And yeah, one of the things that I want to talk about today is the manifesto. So yeah, let me go ahead and add that. We are at $25 for today. As usual, the new thing that we're doing when we reach the stream goal, which we're trying to get to $100 today, I will open this chest. There's a magical wooden chest over here, and we'll find out what's inside if we get to $100. Crazy. I love this little chest. I got it at a garage sale. It's so cute. It's got this like cute little latch. Cute. Do the line folk know about the change? I didn't really talk to them about it, and that's partially because I had no intention of using a different name there. It is kind of fun, though, that sometimes, like, when we do the hashtag team whatever at the end, people will do hashtag team Moss or hashtag team Lux, and sometimes they do hashtag team Mitter, because Mitternacht is the name of my cat. It's like they're voting for my cat in order to vote for me. It's fun. I'm surprised there aren't more reviews. Yeah, I haven't really seen people discussing Will and Harper, and I don't know if it's just because it's like on Netflix or what the deal is, but I thought that it just seemed like something that would be worth watching in the first place. And then, God, let me just tell you this. I have cried a lot watching Will and Harper. the documentary. Like it is hard. It's really actually quite difficult to watch as a trans person. And um I think if you're not trans, then maybe some of it is not going to sink in. So I kind of wanted to provide that lens of like, let me explain why this is so emotionally impactful as a trans person and like why this is such an important film. Hey, do you guys have like when your cat gets out of the litter box and they just like start screaming? You know? What are you doing? What a jackass. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about yes, it's Mitternacht. I only have one cat. I'm down to one. My cats don't scream. Okay. I do like to scream when I walk out of the bathroom. Just ah. Yeah, so let me look at some of the links that I have saved for today. Stuff that I wanted to talk about. My cat doesn't scream. It's just yeah, like running around after the poop. The poop zoomies. The Pope zoomies, Jesus. Okay. So here's some of the stuff that I wanted to talk about today. The Florida Department of Corrections is attempting to, quote, reverse the gender identity of trans people in its custody. I want to look at the alleged manifesto from Luigi Mangione. Nancy Mace. Not only did she straight up say the hard T recently, but she has now accused someone of assaulting her after shaking their hand. Yeah, I guess I kind of included two different links. I included like two different things about the Florida thing. Uh, and then some interesting news about somebody being cured of HIV. Hey, jackass, what are you doing? What are you doing? Uh huh. I think he knows that if he comes anywhere near me, I'm gonna pick him up and make him. I'm gonna pick him up and make him be on camera. What's happening in Florida? Yeah. We'll get to it in a minute. What do we want to talk about first? I've I've got like several things prepared. And again, I kind of feel like hot garbage, so I don't know if we're going to get to the end of the stream. Hey baby. Hey. What are you doing? Like I kind of want to go pick him up even though he just got out of the cat box. HIV cure first. All right, we'll talk about it in a second then. I'm going to go get him. I'm going to make him suffer. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to get him real quick. Don't go anywhere. I'm only going to be gone for like 5 seconds. Kitty. Yeah, I know. Yeah. So I took this a-hole to the vet recently, and I found out that he actually weighs 20 pounds, so he's on a diet now. My old boy's ears keep lighting up when you call your cat. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, isn't that so sweet? Thank you. Hi. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You've not gotten enough attention today? Is that what's going on? Mm-hmm. Look at this. Normally he gets mad at me when I pick him up, but look at this. We have like a sweet boy. Are you a good boy? Yeah? You want to diet? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the little headbutts. He's very good. Mm-hmm. I wish I could relate to that cat. It doesn't like getting picked up. Look at you. Why are you being so sweet? How old is he? He's like 14 or 15, somewhere in that vicinity. You old? See, he's a black cat, but look at these white whiskers. He's getting so old. You old man. Oh. Aw, thank you. Thank you, baby. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I know you could hear that purring. Yeah? Okay, I'll put you down now. Or do you want down? No? What weirdo. What a weird baby. I'm like surprised that he's not struggling to get down. That's usually what happens. Yeah? Okay. Aw, thank you. Thank you, baby. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, now, I'm having a hard time carrying you because you weigh 20 pounds. Can I put you down now? Hmm? I'm gonna put you down now. Okay. There we go. You're so good. I love you so much. Now you're gonna go lick plastic. Yeah? That sounds characteristic. He's always licking plastic. Anyway. Oh. You're talking to other people and I need to show them that you're my human and not theirs. I mean, I don't think he understands what's going on. I do know that he has kind of learned to avoid me when the light is on and I'm talking, because he associates that with me picking him up, which he usually does not like, but he's been enjoying it more lately. My cat loves to sit next to me facing away from me. It's like, you get my butt and that's it. Okay. Are you gonna lick plastic? Hey, hey, sir. Hey, hey. Yeah, I'm talking to you. The way he just went. Oh, jeez. Okay. So, Baphomet said, what are your... Baphomet said that he wants to talk about the HIV thing first. So let's talk about curing HIV real quick. I feel like my hand is so dirty now. Why are you so dirty? Huh? Why are you so dusty? Please stop licking plastic. God, that's so fucking annoying. It trips my misophonia when he does that. Oh, God. Okay. Okay, HIV has been... So we have the fifth person.
Researchers say a fifth person has been...
No. Thank you. I don't want to watch a video right now. I just want to talk about the news. Oh my God. Something in my eyeball. Just cat fur in my eyeball. Oh, yo, if I didn't already mention it, I watched season 2 of Invincible, and it was pretty fucking good. I'm looking forward to season 3 coming out soon. So, fifth person ever to be confirmed to be cured of HIV. The Dusseldorf patient, latest to be rid of HIV with no signs of return. I love how ABC News is like just a whole bunch of shit about Mangione and Daniel Penny. Researchers are announcing that a 53-year-old man in Germany has been cured of HIV. Referred to as the Dusseldorf patient or Dusseldorf, to protect his privacy, researchers said he is the 5th confirmed case of an HIV cure. Although the details of his successful treatment were first announced at a conference in 2019, researchers could not confirm he had been officially cured at that time. Today, researchers announced that the Dusseldorf patient still has no detectable virus in his body even after stopping his HIV medication 4 years ago. Can we get likes in the chat? Likes on the video, please. Because this is a fucking incredible breakthrough. So Dr. Bjorn Erikel Jensen says it's really cure and not just, like a long-term remission. This obviously positive symbol makes hope, but there's a lot of work to do. Obviously, for most people, HIV is a lifelong infection and the virus is never fully eradicated. Although, obviously, if you're undetectable, you're untransmissible. So if you're on PEP, you're taking your antiviral meds the way that you're supposed to, you can be functionally HIV free as long as you just take the med every day, right? But so the Dusseldorf patient joins a small group of people who have been cured under extreme circumstances after a stem cell transplant, which is typically only performed in cancer patients who don't have any other options. A stem cell transplant is a high-risk procedure that effectively replaces a person's immune system. The primary goal is to cure someone's cancer, but the procedure has also led to an HIV cure in a handful of cases. So, yes, the way that the immune deficiency virus works is that it enters and destroys the cells of the immune system, basically destroys T cells. Without treatment, the continued damage leads to acquired immune deficiency syndrome, or AIDS, where a person cannot fight even a small infection. Like people with untreated HIV, they usually die from like catching the flu or something, where their body just cannot fight it off normally. With about 38.4 million people globally living with HIV, treatments have come a long way. Modern medication can keep the virus at bay, and studies looking into preventing HIV infection with a vaccine are also underway. And you can take PrEP. If you take PrEP, that basically can help prevent you from acquiring it, even if you have an accidental exposure. The first person with HIV cure was Timothy Ray Brown. Researchers published his case as the Berlin patient in 2009. That was followed by the London patient, published in 2019. Most recently, the City of Hope and New York patients were published in 2022. They're anonymized so that it protects their identity. Dr. Jensen says, I think we can get a lot of insights from this patient and from these similar cases of HIV cure. These insights give us some hints where we could go to make the strategy safer. All 4 of these patients had undergone stem cell transplants for their blood cancer treatment. So all of these individuals were receiving a treatment primarily for cancer. And they also happened to be HIV positive. So their donors for this treatment, the stem cell donors, also had the same HIV-resistant mutation, which deletes a protein called CCR5, which HIV normally uses to enter the cell. Only 1% of the total population carries this genetic mutation, which makes them resistant to HIV. So these are pretty extreme circumstances. It's people with cancer, with blood cancer specifically, and they just happen to have HIV, and it's treatment resistant, the cancer. They're having a difficult time treating it conventionally. So the stem cell transplant is like a risky and complicated procedure. It's too risky to offer it as a cure for everyone with HIV. But scientists are hopeful. Each time they cure a new patient, they gain valuable research insights, which help them understand what it would take to find a cure for everyone. So basically, like, there's, this treatment, again, is not something that we can just do lightly. It carries a lot of risks. And it's only, again, this was a cancer treatment that seems to have had the effect of curing the HIV because the people that they were transplanting stem cells from happened to have this particular gene that is resistant or immune, sort of, to HIV. Hello, Gayfesh. Speaking of Gayfesh, having just arrived in chat, and generally, like, speaking of the fact that I'm trying to do more media analysis stuff, Gayfesh has a podcast that it just started. And right now, Demon Mama and I are the guests, and we are reviewing some of the MCU movies, specifically all the movies that have Captain Rogers in them. Like, we're doing the Captain Americas. So we did Captain America: The First Avenger, and then yesterday the video came out for our Avengers 2012 review. Next, obviously, we have in 2 weeks, the Captain America Winter Soldier will come out. And then we've just recorded the Avengers Age of Ultron. So, yeah, those are, they come out every other week. I was literally just editing our last session, took a break from listening to your voice, so now I'm here listening to your voice. Yeah. I also listen to the podcast after they're uploaded. Yeah. I was like doing chores yesterday. I was like listening to it while I was doing stuff away from my computer. YouTube Premium. It's kind of nice because you can just listen to stuff like a podcast. But yeah, it's good stuff. Demon Mama has opinions because she hasn't seen a lot of these movies, or she's only seen them once. Whereas like Gayfesh and I have watched these movies multiple times. I really liked Age of Ultron. I don't know why. I really, really, really did not like it when I was younger. And this most recent, I like watched it, I usually watch the movie at least twice before we discuss it. And I was like, man, I don't know what it is. I really like this movie. I don't get why Age of Ultron gets so much hate. Listen, there are a lot of things that it could have improved on. There's some stuff that doesn't really make any sense. There are decisions that are made because it is a product that is meant to sell the MCU, right? You get characters who are in it that's like, why is this person even in it? Oh, to set up this other thing. Why did this character do this? Oh, it's to set up this other thing that happens in a future movie. So it's a little, no. But definitely, like, I mean, James Spader, if nothing else, makes that movie worth watching. The podcast can also be found on most other podcast services. I just haven't advertised them. Yeah, so on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, listen to the Many Worlds Hypothesis. Do it. Do it. I was just thinking about YouTube Premium. Honestly, my opinion, I think it's worth it. Although, also, honestly, I'm a member of the partner program. Why the fuck do I not have Premium for free? Why am I spending $13 a month when I am a paid creator on this platform? Give me it for free. Yes, I can write that off because I use YouTube for work. But, like, girl, give me it for free. Are you serious? Susan. Oh, God. I wonder if that set of clues is working out how those genes could be replaced in otherwise healthy HIV-positive people. Yeah, I mean, basically, like, so this is like, yeah, we cannot use stem cell transplants to give to just anybody. Because I guess, like, there are probably a lot of complications that go into doing a stem cell transplant. But every time we cure HIV, it gives us more information about, like, how could we do this in a way that gets it to everybody who needs it. Which, again, like, it's not, like, totally necessary to cure HIV, because if you just take antiviral medication, then you can basically just, like, functionally you don't have it, except that you have to still take this pill every day, but it doesn't continue to escalate. You basically don't have it in your body. Here's an interesting fun fact that maybe you guys didn't know. Did you know that in other countries, they are repurposing antivirals for HIV to treat long COVID? Basically, like, which indicates to us that there is a viral persistence, which is causing long COVID. And I think it kind of indicates that they're similar viruses, or like that your body uses the antiviral against them in a similar way. I take a daily antiviral. I have oral herpes, and I just want to be able to suck dick whenever I want. So I take valacyclovir every day. Like, I just take it as a preventative. Um, and I've wondered sometimes if the fact that I'm on a daily antiviral might be helpful for me, even though it's an HIV, or sorry, it's a herpes antiviral and not an HIV antiviral. Although basically, like, you could also take PrEP, and there is some indication that taking PrEP can help you fight off COVID as well. I'm gonna eat seaweed the way you said. Yeah, I made a stew recently and I did put seaweed in it for a little bit, and I don't know that it really made a huge impact on the unctuousness of the broth. It was suggested that if you're making a vegetable broth, putting seaweed in it can give it some of that, like, mouth feel that a meat-based broth has. But yeah, also seaweed is just, like, healthy for you. If it's organic, then it's less likely to have, like, a shit ton of arsenic in it. As far as I know, stem cell transplants are on the same level as bone marrow transplants. Super painful and invasive surgery. That would not surprise me. I agree. Yeah, it's pretty amazing how HIV has gone from a death sentence to something that basically doesn't impact your life. I have friends in the trials for HIV vaccine. That's cool. The bad thing is that it kind of, I feel like in order to confirm the efficacy of an HIV vaccine, you either have to do risky behaviors that could expose you, or you have to be deliberately exposed to it and just be like, well, I hope this doesn't give me fucking HIV. Yeah, taking PrEP and raw dogging public transport air. Yeah. Too much iodine can be bad. Yeah. So you don't want to eat like a shit ton of seaweed, but if you eat like, what is it, 8 grams of seaweed per day, that's like a pretty acceptable amount, according to what I was reading. I mean, listen, there are countries where you eat seaweed regularly. It's in the soups, like Asian countries, it's in the soups, it's in sushi, like, yeah, it's so. And generally speaking, the life expectancy is pretty high in Asian countries, so you could attribute that to diet. You could attribute it to a lot of different things, like a different cultural approach to exercise and all kinds of things, but it certainly doesn't seem to be hurting them to eat a lot of seaweed. Excuse me. So the HIV vaccine, Christopher elaborates that they do tests every month with blood samples and then use those samples to see if HIV infections could still occur. Okay, so they just take your blood after you've had the vaccine and they test whether the cells in your blood are being impacted by HIV when exposed directly. That makes sense. I think the flavor / mouthfeel description that you're thinking of is called umami. Nope. Like, I mean, umami is a flavor. I was watching a video that was saying that there is a texture that seaweed confers in a broth, which I think is different than the flavor of umami. I mean, I was eating roasted mushrooms last night, and I was like, bitch, that's umami. That's the flavor. I'm at soup? No! What do you mean, soup? What do you mean, soup? I was like, how do I get in on that meme? I know the meme. I'm not confused. Okay, I want to be clear about that. I would bet everything that if the HIV cure became more widespread, that conservatives would rail against it like they do gender-affirming care. I mean, yeah, keep in mind also, Ari, that they rail against fucking COVID vaccines. It's like not only do they not want you to mask, but they also don't want you to get a vaccine, which is crazy. Yeah, the roasted mushrooms, good lord. I buttered them. I buttered them with garlic butter. And then I also had so basically the dinner that I cooked last night was roasted chicken breast. I always brown the chicken breast in the pan first, and then it goes in the oven. So I have olive oil in the pan. So after you when you cook it, like you cook out some of the moisture that's in the chicken breast. So you end up with like a chicken breast olive oil liquid that also has like seasoning from the chicken in it, because obviously some of the seasoning comes off of the chicken while you're cooking it. So I did the butter, and then I also poured a bunch of that oil liquid onto the mushrooms. It was good. It was yummy. And then just like an instant, of like a pouch of instant mashed potatoes, because I don't really mind. I know some people get really upset about the sort of gluiness because of the starches and everything in an instant mashed potato, but I kind of like that texture, honestly. And it's so fast. I have a kettle, so I just boil water in the kettle, in the electric kettle, and then I pour that, and like boom, bing bang, immediately you have mashed potatoes that you didn't have to work for at all. They raised a stink against the HPV vaccine for cervical cancer. If they think it will let you, quote, get away with sexual, quote, immorality, they're against it. Oh, I mean, yeah, sure. Although, to be fair, I think part of the reason that people were against the HPV vaccine initially was because the company Merck that was making it had like a pretty sketchy track record at that time, or maybe it was just like a couple cases of vaccines going wrong that people kind of latched onto. I kind of feel like resistance to getting the HPV vaccine was the first time I can remember the vaccine hesitancy. Now, it probably was older than, well, fuck, when did Andrew Wakefield, let's just, when start the vaccine war, whatever. When did this start? Because I was a teenager when the whole HPV vaccine thing happened. Okay, so the Wakefield stuff was in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. So that definitely would have been sooner. But this was also more of a thing in the UK. Like, I'm not really sure that the scare about MMR was like a thing in the US. I think it was more of a UK thing. Apparently, seaweed contains carrageenan, which acts as a thickener like gelatin. Yeah, that's it. I'm a heathen sometimes and use those 90-second rice packets. I can't fucking figure out how to cook rice, and I don't want to have like a dedicated rice cooker. My Instant Pot has a rice setting, and it like I don't know. I'm just bad about it. I'm not good at rice. So it's like, yeah, if I can make rice in a packet in the microwave, that's kind of preferable to me fucking up the rice again. I'm really good at undercooking rice. I don't know. The UK is collectively glad you are getting into kettles across the pond. Listen, it's so convenient. Like, anytime I need to boil water, here's what I do. I turn on the burner. Like, okay, yes, obviously you can use the kettle for tea. You can use the kettle for, you have the ramens that come in the cup that you pour boiling water into, and then you just let it sit for like 5 minutes. Yeah, so there's the obvious things that you use a kettle for. But literally anytime I need, like, let's say I'm gonna make pasta, which you have to pasta do like on the stove, right? But I will boil water in the kettle. I'll put the water in the kettle and get it started, and I will turn on the burner on the stove to get it hot enough, and then I'll like put some salt in the pot, and I keep the pot off the burner. Obviously, you don't want to put an empty pot on the burner, even if it's like stainless steel. Excuse me. And so that's literally anytime I need to boil water. When the water gets to a boil, I then pour the boiling water in the pot, and then I put the pot on the burner. And so it might still take like another minute or two to get up to boiling temperature, but Jesus, it saves so much time. Partially also because you don't really want to. So something that I have done before, and that I'm going to do less now because I researched a little bit. What I have done previously is I will turn on the hot water on the sink and get it as hot as it will go, and then I put that in the pot and then I boil that. But you don't really want to do that because there are minerals that can leach into the hot water, which is like fine if you're just washing yourself, but it's not very good to eat. So you put cold water in the kettle, because obviously if you're starting from cold water, it takes a while to boil just on the stove. So those are my hot tips. Yeah, instant oatmeal. I basically still just put my oatmeal in the microwave, but yeah. I remember getting the HPV vaccines in my early 20s. Technically don't need it now. Yeah, I actually only just got the HPV vaccine like in the past couple of years because my dad was like opposed to me getting it because of those anti-vax things. And actually, I think that they might have waited to get my younger siblings some vaccines because they were kind of I think it's so funny that my dad is the one who nudged me into getting into the skeptic community because he was reading like skeptic.org back in the day. And then I started blogging for Teen Skeptic, and then I got deeply involved in the skeptic community. But meanwhile, he was like getting caught up in the anti-vax shit. Like, I don't know. When I realized that I was smarter than my parents, that was a big kind of oh shit moment for me. You know, it's like I can't actually rely on you people for anything because you're not smart. Ugh. By the way, y'all, if you're in the YouTube chat, nothing against the YouTube chat, but if you didn't know, this website over here, this chat over here, this is not Twitch. I do not dual stream to Twitch. I might start doing that next year. But for now, I only stream to YouTube, and then it mirrors to my website. And this is the chat from my website. So if you're interested, this chat over here has a lot of custom emojis, and you can donate directly through my website instead of through YouTube. And it does not, like, YouTube doesn't take a bunch of your money when you donate directly through the website. So no pressure, but if you're interested, that's what it's here for. Due to safety issues, I have gone to electric kettles that turn themselves off, and I have a steam cooker that does rice, but also a whole meal, and also turns itself off. Nice. My kettle originally would turn itself off, and now it doesn't. I don't know why, but yeah. So I do have to pay attention to it. I think maybe it was like steam came through the mechanisms at some point and made it to where the automatic shutoff doesn't work anymore. Look at that. Custom emojis. Wow. Wow. I'm just going to hold the dicks and the pussy. Just going to hold them. I'm going to cup them gently. I do rice in a saucepan usually. I'm just not good at it. I've tried to do it in a saucepan, and I'm just like, I follow the directions on the bag and it doesn't work. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not using enough water, or I don't know. I can't figure it out. Yes, the turn itself off feature turned itself off. That's true. Ooh, lava monster. Yes. Vaccine W. My whole house got the flu and I was the only one vaxxed and everyone got their asses kicked except me who just felt a bit off for a couple days. Nice. Yeah. My electric kettle stopped shutting itself off once, but then I realized it was slightly askew and fixed it by making sure it was flat on the counter. Yeah, that's definitely not the problem for mine. He fell into this vaccine skeptic crap too, even though I literally. Oh, sorry. I realized I was smarter than my older brother when I was like 20 because he fell into the vaccine skeptic crap too, even though I literally got vaccinated for his kid's safety when I took care of his kids most of the time. Like, whooping cough. Oh my God, whooping cough terrifies me. It's so scary. Like, if you've ever seen a video of a kid with whooping cough, sorry because I know that there are parents in the chat listening, and I don't want to freak you guys out. I'm sure you're familiar, but like watching a baby cough and be like kind of unable to catch its breath is very fucking upsetting. Like a whooping cough is not something that you play around with. It is so uncool. Youch on the kettle feature stopping. Well, so here's the thing though, is that when my kettle would automatically turn itself off, it would turn itself off almost as soon as it got to boiling temperature, which means that it would immediately cool off. Like it would get to boiling and then it would switch off and then it would stop boiling. So now it's just like you just have to pay attention and listen and go, oh, is that my water boiling? Yeah, my water's boiling. You can't, if you leave it, obviously it'll just keep making steam forever. But yeah, so it was kind of annoying when it would shut itself off. I'm not so bothered about smarter than. Well, what I'm trying to say is like, okay, when you're a kid, you look up to your parents because your parents know stuff more than you, right? Like they know more things. Hey, 69 likes. Yes, bitch. Yes. But like your parents are smarter than you in the sense that they know more stuff than you. And like you're a kid and you don't know things and then like, if you ever want to go to your parents for advice, like how can you go to someone for advice if you've watched them do dumb shit that you wouldn't do yourself? You know? Like if you like look at things that your parents have done and you realize, oh, that was a colossal fucking mistake, and you lose respect for them, like, I feel like it's a moment where you realize that like, oh, I'm kind of on my own. Like I am the adult in the room now because these people who I previously thought were like smarter and whose decisions I thought were good and who I trusted, I'm like, oh, I cannot rely on you in that way anymore. So I'm not saying like, OMG, like I'm an intellectual supremacist, although if I'm being completely honest, I kind of am. I try not to be a dick about it, but I do judge people for being stupid. Like, I'm sorry. It's like I recognize that it's a flaw. Like I don't know that there's much I can change about it at this point, but I recognize that it's a flaw. But yeah, I just like that the realization of like, oh, my parents are fucking dumb was yeah. And it kind of, I guess, helps me feel like, oh, I don't really need you. But it sort of, I guess, just reinforces that trauma sense of like I can't rely on anybody, you know? Yeah, you're realizing you don't have a more capable resource to go to. Or like realizing that you are more capable than them and that you're not even equals. Hey, congrats, Lightwolf. Just got the third HPV vaccine today. Nice. Yeah, I think that I was technically too old for it, but I just said that I was immune compromised and like they're not going to double check. And like in all likelihood, I probably won't need it. I kind of got the HPV vaccine when I was like, I think that my partner and I might get divorced. And now obviously that's not happening. We're moving across the country together, so probably not going to get divorced at this point, but like you never fucking know. I would rather not get head, neck, and throat cancer. So, yeah, it's good to get the HPV vaccine for sure. Ember says my entire parenting style was thinking of what my parents would do and then do the opposite of that. Yeah. Well, and it was kind of hard for me too. Like, uh, lore, if you didn't know this, I think many of you probably do know this, but my mother had primary custody of me growing up. She was physically abusive and just just not a good. She was a teenager when she got pregnant with me. She decided to keep it. I listen, and then she had to get an abortion like a year after I was born because she did it again. Um, so I was with my mom, who was like abusive, and so my dad was like my savior parent, you know? And like, I think my mom, while she made dumb fuck decisions, she's fairly smart. I'm going to talk about my mom in the past tense. I don't think she's dead, but she might as well be because I don't talk to her anymore. But you know what I mean? Um, I felt like she was doing the best she could, or I feel now that she was doing the best she could at the time, but she was abusive to me and it wasn't fucking cool. And so when I moved in with my dad, I was like, oh, you know, he's my safe space. Like, I can trust him. Like, he's the one I can rely on. So I think coming to the realization that I was smarter than my dad specifically was hard because of that. Because I was like, I have this one person I can rely on who's kind of been my rock for such a long time. And then, yeah, like, coming to realize now in my adulthood that not only did my dad like not know what the fuck he was doing a lot of the time, but that he actually really fucked up on some things in a way that is irreparable. Um, definitely has not made our relationship any better. Definitely. I stopped listening to my mom about dating advice a long time ago after like the second time she pointed someone out to me and I was like, I'm not going to date someone in a halfway house. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to judge anybody's situation that they're in, but I understand the desire to want to date someone who is in a stable situation. Yeah, I can understand that. At this point, I mostly only ask my parents about things I know they're smart about. Yeah, but I do kind of feel like anything that my parents know, I could find out for myself. And still you rise. True. So, okay, we talked about the HIV thing. Oh my god, Andrew Wakefield. Somebody whose name I would not know if it was not for the fact that H Bomber Guy said it so many times. The same is true of oh no, my partner was just listening to a video about him like yesterday and I was like, "Hey, I know that name. The fucking his name is Billy something. I have a different name that keeps intruding on my head because I know someone who's called Billy. That the yeah, the guy who's like lied allegedly about being like the having like a record or something of like gosh darn it, never mind. I was trying to make a point and that doesn't work if I don't remember the name. Junebug says, I came to that conclusion about my dad. He's a fucking idiot. Not because he's stupid, but incurious and arrogant. Honestly, I take after him and view him more as a warning. Right. It's good to be able to recognize, yeah, Billie Eilish. No, he like allegedly lied about how many, like a Guinness World Record for the working on the most video games. Billy Mitchell, thank you. Fucking Christ. I was like, what are you watching a video about Billy Mitchell? What are you doing over there? More like Andrew Wakefield. True. Andrew Wakefield is like, ugh, yeah. One of the things that I think is fun is that there was a one of the documentaries that gets referenced in H Bomber Guy's videos is narrated by the woman who plays Catelyn Stark in Game of Thrones. Yeah, no, I was yeah. It was Billy Mitchell. Tommy Tallarico. Why are both of those names in my head in an interchangeable fashion? Was it Billy Mitchell was like a alleged speed runner? Who the fuck is Billy Mitchell? Why is that name in my brain? Oh my god, I'm finally warm. I'm finally warm enough that I might actually... So my hair is being kind of crazy, which is why I'm wearing a hat. I need to cut my hair. Who the fuck is Billy Mitchell? Why? Why? Yeah, this is the speedrunner guy. Eh. Oh my god. Tommy Tallarico. Okay, so Billy Mitchell and Tommy Tallarico just kind of exist in the same place in my brain, apparently. Okay, now I'm gonna be really cold for a minute. I still have not watched GOT. It seems too bleak. I mean, I don't think that it's... Well, okay. I think the TV show is kind of pessimistic, but that is a bastardization of the original story. But I'm not going to say you should watch Game of Thrones. Like, I would say watch up to season 3 of Game of Thrones and then pretend like the rest of it got canceled after that. But also, like, who the fuck cares if you watch Game of Thrones at this point? Everybody knows that it was bad. It had a bad ending. Everybody knows that. Okay, let me get my other links. Okay, I have my other links open for today. Billy Mitchell got caught cheating at Donkey Kong, and instead of fessing up, he'll just sue anyone who says anything negative about him. Oh, I didn't know that there was a YouTuber who killed himself because of Billy Mitchell. That's fucking crazy. Apollo Legend. That's what you were watching. What about reading Game of Thrones? I mean, it's a good book. I think it has, like, good things going on in it. It's just, like, again, it's so in the same way that I say, if you're going to read Game of Thrones, or sorry, if you're going to watch Game of Thrones, watch, like, the first 3 seasons and then pretend the rest of it was canceled. If you're going to read Game of Thrones books, you just have to accept that they're probably never going to be finished. Like, that there probably will never be a satisfying resolution to the story. But, appreciate it for the art that it is. People really appreciate some of Tolkien's unfinished works, even though they're unfinished. I mean, it's a little bit different, I guess, if it's your mainline story that doesn't get finished. Like, if The Lord of the Rings had been unfinished, I don't know, like, would there be such a lasting cultural impact from it? Possibly not. Kind of debatable. Read the Fire and Ice books only if you like political stories. I mean, yeah, it's a political story, yes, but it's also about honor, and it's about family, and it's about, like, mysterious forces in the world. Like, it definitely has other things going on besides the politics. Yeah, but it's not like high fantasy for sure. I don't think. What if I really want to read a story about incest? Well, yeah, you'll definitely find plenty of it in there. For sure. Man, we're getting so close to time for me to move. Like, man. I'm not sure when I'm going to take hiatus, by the way. So just to reiterate, I am not going to stream on Christmas because that's a Wednesday. I'm not going to stream on Christmas this year. I will stream on New Year's Day. And then I'm getting a tooth removed the day after that. So I'm not sure whether I will stream that first Sunday. It'll depend on how I'm feeling. Like that first Sunday of the new year. And then I don't actually know when I'm going on hiatus, but I'm moving across the country. It's probably going to be 4 days of driving. But it's also going to be like, how close can I push it up to the wire of like having all of my shit back here in a box? Oh my goodness, 5 tier 3 subs. Holy cow. Yeah, take it easy after a tooth extraction. Yeah, he made it sound like it was going to be a pretty easy removal, but you still got to be like mindful to be careful of that kind of thing. 5 tier 3 subs. Jiminy Christmas. The exchange rate sucks recently. Yeah, the economy fucking sucks recently. That was a $100 donation. I had to wait for PayPal to come through because I was like, I don't want to try to think about how much money that is. Yeah, holy cow. Thank you. 125 for today. Just like that. In a box was like, get this fucking done. Okay, so what's in the box? We're gonna find out. It's my child. It's my baby. It's my baby. It's my egg. Egg. Leg. My baby. Yeah. Egg. It's got like a great texture. This is modeled after Daenerys's. So it has like, it's got this bit that's like smoothed over in the way that Daenerys's eggs were smoothed over because they were petrified. So yeah, it's got this like nice scaly texture. In addition to like just the layer lines texture that 3D prints always have. So, yes, it is my baby. Yeah. I'm just gonna... Oh no, there's a hair in there. No. There we go. My baby. Do you ever get broody for kids? I'm actually realizing that I might have the opposite problem. It's like, okay, the idea of being pregnant makes me want to throw up. The idea of breastfeeding makes me want to throw up. I really don't function well when I don't sleep. I don't really like having someone who wants to touch me all the time. So no, I don't really get broody for kids. I, in fact, think that if I ever decided to have kids, I would have a lot of hurdles that I would need to kind of work through. So, no, not really. Yes, 3D printed egg. Egg. My baby. Yes. I think it would be kind of hard to break this egg, honestly. I think I'd have to, like, take a tool to it or, like, run it over. Because I printed it, it's only like a 15% infill or something like that. So it's really lightweight. But it's like, I don't know, this is also a silk filament, which tends to have pretty shit layer adhesion, but I just feel like I really had my printer dialed in. Nodding on the someone wanting to touch. Yeah. Like, I don't like it when someone wants my attention constantly. I like when it's quiet. I like being alone. So, yeah, I definitely think if I have a kid at any point, I would just be really I would really need a heavy hand with the co-parenting. I would need a lot of help because I would be very frustrated. There we go. I'm just gonna leave my baby right there. Oh, it was just the way that I said, my baby. Yeah. That's how I am with the cat. I'm like, oh, you're my baby. But then the cat is quiet and he takes care of himself and he leaves me alone the overwhelming majority of the time. You know? Oh, gosh. There is a follow-up box. We may not get to 200, but if we do, there's another box to open. All right. So let's get into a new topic. Let's talk about Luigi Mangione, shall we? I'm gonna be real. I don't think this is our guy. I think if you just look at this dude's eyebrows, this is not our guy. Like, God bless Luigi Mangione, but his eyebrows were growing into the center a little bit in a way that I don't think we were seeing on the footage of the shooter. It's like, yeah, and like, did he get caught intentionally? Those were nearly tier 4 subs too. Listen, don't worry in a box. Don't be like, oh no, I need to give more money. Like, listen, I really appreciate it, but don't feel obligated. Yeah, I kind of think that he might be a fall guy. I don't really know if there's like a nice way to say that. I guess patsy is the word for it, but I kind of think that he's just the guy that they decided to pin this on. We will see as things move forward, but that is my feeling. And it might be, of course, motivated by my hope that the guy doesn't get caught. Like, how cool would that be? But I think that the police can't brook that. Like, I think that the police and the sort of powers that be, I don't think that they can tolerate. I don't think that God, there's like a particular word for this that I'm trying to think of that is just not coming to me. I don't think that the power structure can tolerate that guy getting away scot-free. I think that the police came up completely dry and that they just had to pick a guy because they needed to demonstrate that they could find the guy. Because, like, why are you walking around with the gun still? Why are you walking around with fake IDs? Why did you go into a McDonald's and like unmask and get yourself caught while eating a hash brown? Gayfesh, I feel like, God bless you, but that's such a, I feel like the Whedonisms are saturating. He seems to not be denying it though. Like, what's the play here? He had a manifesto and the things he shouted to the media all seem pretty consistent. Yeah, I guess, I mean, the only thing that I know that he shouted was like, this is an insult to the intelligence of the American people, which, and like for him to have a handwritten manifesto on him, girl, that's embarrassing. After how clean and precise the actual assassination was, you'd be surprised at how many people admit to a crime for fame. Yeah, because like, regardless of whether he's our guy, that is, like, this could be a thing where he begins a career off of this. Like, if he were to trademark the phrase deny, defend, depose, you know, or if he were to just market himself, start going on podcasts and stuff, like, I think that it could be very profitable for him. And, like, I know that there are a lot of things about Luigi Mangione that could indicate that he is our guy. Like that his mom had some kind of thing that she needed that was extremely expensive, and that like he's had a spinal fusion surgery and probably is in chronic pain. Like he was reading books that have to do with chronic pain, and his politics are kind of out there. Um, I mean, it remains to be seen whether like how the case goes and everything. I'm not entirely sure that he's our guy, but I figured he would need to be exonerated before he can make money off of it. Sure, yeah. I'm just saying that this could be that type of situation. I get, yeah, he could be intentionally taking the fall for the shooter, possibly. It just seems really weird, the circumstances of him getting caught. And I've also seen some people saying basically that that the reason why it seems so weird that they found him, it might be because the police were illegally tracking him, and then they had to kind of create a situation where he could be caught. You know, like why is the McDonald's employee likely to not get the reward? It might be because the alleged McDonald's employee doesn't really exist, and they just were using, they were just using this as a pretense for arresting him after illegally tracking him, basically. To be fair, the state of Luigi's back alone gives me doubts about him being the shooter. Why, though? Because I feel like for someone to be in chronic pain, you know, it's like maybe his surgery wasn't paid for fully, or maybe his pain medication, like maybe the insurance company stopped paying for his pain medication that he was using to manage that chronic pain. Like, there is motive. I'm not saying that there isn't motive. I'm just saying if you were going to pin it on someone, you would pin it on someone with motive, right? The police say they have the killer's DNA from the gun. Really? I thought that the gun wasn't left behind. It's like he was being an expert assassin for 3 days and then just suddenly stopped. That's what I'm saying. Like, for it to be done so cleanly and for him to have gotten away so cleanly. Like, if he intended to be caught, then why wouldn't he have just stayed at the scene of the crime? The gun was on Luigi. Did they have DNA on the shell casings? Yeah, some people are saying that there were fingerprints on the shells. Like, has no one ever heard of loading your gun while wearing gloves? Like, I think if I were to ever carry a gun, I probably would load it with, like, while wearing gloves, if for no other reason than if my gun gets stolen and then used in a crime, I don't want my fingerprints all over the casings, you know? But yeah, like, are his fingerprints on the casings? Is his DNA on the casings? Ari says his spine is basically fused. According to the information we've gotten currently, his back pain was excruciating, like it would leave him debilitated and bedridden for a week solid. Yeah. But as a person who has chronic pain, like, I can say it's transient. Like, sometimes, yes, you feel like you can't get out of bed, or like you can't really do much. Like the headache that I had all day today. Boy howdy, I meant to get more done today, but I couldn't really do a lot because I was just like, wow, if I stand up, my head starts pounding. But it's like not every day, you know? What's up, Eric? I don't think we will ever know the full truth. The message people are taking from this is that the health insurance system sucks and we would like Medicare for all. Yeah, I think honestly, like, anything about him specifically is kind of irrelevant at this time. Like, yes, it's interesting to ask questions like, did the cops just pin this on some random guy? Or is this our guy? And like, what are his politics? I know people have been digging through, like, what were this guy's Reddit posts, pictures of him, you know, what are his hobbies? So as far as what this means for our country, I think this has people talking more about health insurance being a scam. And there are some Trump voters who genuinely believe that part of what Trump is going to do is rein in the insurance companies and lower premiums. And, like, obviously that's not going to happen. So, yeah. It's just a question of, like, is this going to change anything? Is this going to make people feel more powerful? I don't know if this is necessarily going to spur any copycats. And I do think that if they were pinning this on some guy, they're going to come down on it pretty hard. Or I guess either way. If Luigi is the guy or if he's not, they're going to come down on him pretty hard because they don't want people to think that this is something that they can get away with. So I'm not sure if this is necessarily going to spark more assassination attempts, or if it's just going to be like, maybe this will spur on more nonviolent action. I'm not totally sure. But like, this is what I'm saying. Things have been happening that have thrown a wrench in my ability to predict what might happen next. This was unexpected for me in the first place. It's like less that his specific politics are, but more that people on both sides are now uniting over a major class and human rights issue. Yeah, that is one thing that I do hope comes from this, is that it becomes more clear that we are in a class war and that we have been on the losing side of it for a long time, and that we should set aside some of this left-wing, right-wing bullshit and recognize, like, the true dichotomy that we're actually in. But I figured while we're here, we'll talk about the manifesto. This is from Ken Klippenstein, who has allegedly obtained the full manifesto, which is not very long. Because the news media has been sort of selectively quoting from this, but not publishing the whole thing. So Ken went ahead and published the whole thing on his, I think this is Substack. So this is the manifesto. And this is such a weird way for it to start. I don't know. To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. Like, interesting decision to start that way. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. Okay? This was fairly trivial. Some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, a lot of patience. So he's saying, like, yeah, I didn't put a ton of effort into this, basically, except for a lot of patience. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. My tech is pretty locked down because I work in engineering, so probably not much info there. Also, like, the tech that he got to is not, like, public necessarily. I do apologize for any strife of traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. Like, one of the most powerful things in here, I think. A reminder, the US has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. United, like United Healthcare, is the blank largest company in the US by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, and Walmart. It has grown and grown, but has our life expectancy? No, the reality is these blank, just indecipherable because it's a handwritten note, have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have the space, and frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corruption and greed, for example, Rosenthal and Moore, decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. I mean, to be clear, Mr. Man, I don't think that he's the first person to face this with such brutal honesty, but perhaps just the first to feel that he didn't have anything to lose. Have you seen that Elon has been walking around with a young child on his shoulder since the shooting? I did see that he was at like a congressional meeting or something, and there was like one of his kids was on his lap. Like, yeah, Mr. Carrying around a human shield Musk. I was distracted earlier, but speaking of class word, did you see that Ben Shapiro is getting aggro from his audience over this? Yes, I have heard that. You know, he was saying that the praising of this shooting was like liberal hysteria, but there were right wingers in his audience who were like, no, this is everybody's happy about this. This is not just a liberal thing. Or like, I saw one comment that said, I have gone from a Trump voter to a crazy left-wing liberal in 1 month's time, according to Ben Shapiro. Eric says, I find it so intriguing how I'm seeing a lot of conservative people asking more questions on class issues, finding more solidarity with those they don't always agree with. Also seeing some young people kind of react with realizing sometimes they need to work with those they don't agree with normally on core issues, which is great. Yes, that's gorgeous. Because I've been kind of starting to feel that way too. Like, when you start doing coalition building in person, you can't do this purity shit that we do online. It's just not realistic. You're going to work with people who say homophobic shit sometimes. You're going to work with people who say that that's fucking retarded sometimes. And you can't be like, well, that is problematic. Like, that is not cohesive behavior. Like, I kind of think that constantly correcting people about the mildly problematic things that they're saying is antisocial behavior to a degree. That's just my personal opinion. I used to be one of those, to be clear. I was one of them. To the extent that I think it's funny to one-up people on their wokeness. Saying schizo posting is ableist. Well, actually, it's sanist, and it's really problematic of you to equate ableism and sanism. You know, like that kind of silliness. But yeah, we are going to have class solidarity above everything else. A lot of these other issues are relatively superficial when it comes to like our material conditions. So, and like obviously you can't work with people who are calling all trans people groomers. Like that's not, you know, how you can't, like they don't want to work with you if you're trans. So yeah, obviously. But being willing to like get to know someone and then come out as trans so that you can help change their mind is like more the type of stuff that we need to be doing as opposed to, you know, the constant purity bullshit. The one thing that's a bummer about switching away from the straw is that I can't drink as much water at one time. Oh boy. I don't think we'll ever know the full truth because of the message people. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I already read that one. I do hope that we start having more conversation about Medicare for all or something. Honestly, I was thinking about this. Like, I'm moving to a relatively liberal area and like a liberal state. That's the whole fucking point, is I'm moving from a red state to a blue state. I'm kind of wondering if I should try to push for basically universal health care there. Like, you know, I've looked into OHP, the one in Oregon, and it's that problem where I am not poor enough to qualify for the poor people programs, but I also don't really make enough money that it makes sense for me to spend hundreds of dollars a month on health insurance and then also have a deductible. You know, so there's this like in the middle space where you don't qualify for support anymore, but you won't be able to continue moving up economically if you like. I'm not going to be like, that's hundreds of dollars a month that I could be saving toward my move or that I could be saving toward buying a house. And so I'm kind of screwed in that like between a rock and a hard place situation. And I kind of would like to see if we can get any movement in the Republic of California, which is how I'm going to refer to Washington, Oregon, and California just together. I would like to see if we can make some movement toward, like, more universal coverage. Like, coverage that's available to everyone unless your job offers it. I make $27 an hour and I qualify for OHP. I mean, it's like I have 2 working adults together, and like the 2 of us together, I think, make more money than you can qualify for OHP. But I don't live there yet. I haven't like tried to apply for it. I keep getting the fucking texts that are like, get your coverage, get going, let's do it. And I'm like, I'm about to move, so there's no point in me looking at health insurance. And also, the last time I looked at health insurance, and we made less money the last time I looked at it, it was, yeah, like it was still going to cost a few $100s a month. And the only plans that we could afford also had like at least a $10,000 deductible. And it's like, cool, yeah. Like if you have a multi tens of thousands of dollars of healthcare in a year, then yeah, that'll like help pay for that. But it's like, what the fuck is the point of me paying you several $100s a month if I'm also going to not have any care covered until I get to that $10,000 that I've spent? Like, I'm just going to try to avoid needing healthcare. How's your cardio going? I am not exercising very much right now. I would like to do that. I'm just not doing it, which is not helping me feel any better. So no, I'm not doing good on a cardio right now. Kathy says, there's a sort of cult of work that is use and abuse and dispose. I think we need to get away from labor as the focus rather than shared humanity because we are more than mere economic units. Yeah, but I mean, yes. So finding things that we have in common, really. And a lot of us get fucked over by our bosses. A lot of us don't get enough paid time off, you know, and it will be easier to find shared humanity the more people get disabled by COVID, you know? Because then it can be like, well, you have chronic pain, I have chronic pain, and these fuckers are not covering our care and they expect us to keep working ourselves into the ground. I think it'll be easier the more people are disabled by COVID and to be like, hey, the government knew that this was going to happen to you and they let you get reinfected by COVID multiple times a year anyway. And so, like, I think that we will probably end up in a place where it's more possible to find what we have in common outside of labor. But we do still live in a society where people pride themselves on their labor. People pride themselves on doing a good job or showing up to work and being consistent and all these things. And it is very difficult emotionally to grapple with not being able to do those things. Like, coming to terms with the fact that you cannot do what you're expected to do. Like, you can't do what other people can do, and you also can't do what you thought you were able to do. It's very difficult, and it takes a lot of time, actually, to get to a point where you're, like, really sincerely okay with it. And most people are not surrounded by disability activists who can help them get to that point where they feel okay about it. Like, it took me a while to feel like it's okay that I can't work like other people can. And it still, like, freaks me out, the idea of being even less able than I am now, you know? Like, it's part of why I am so desperate to avoid COVID is, like, I have already had to grapple with and face my limitations. And if I lose even more, like, I'm going to have to go through that same process again. Now, it's probably less to grapple with because I'm, like, already disabled, and if I become a little bit more disabled, then that's probably, like, easier than going from thinking you're non-disabled to realizing that you're disabled, you know? But yeah, I think for a lot of people, so much of our identities are tied into what we do. And it starts young. When we ask little kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? We don't ask them, what do you want to do when you grow up? We ask them what they want to be when they grow up. Like, I am an electrician, or I am a video editor, or whatever. Like, it's a pretty integral part of our identity because it's what we do all the time. But yeah, it's like, and like, if you start a new thing, if you're like, oh, I'm going to start playing the guitar, it probably takes a long time for you to feel like I am a guitarist versus like I play guitar, like your identity has to update. And there's like a feeling of imposter syndrome and all that kind of shit, But I feel like it's easier to self-identify with your job if it's a good job. I don't think most people are not like, I identify with being a gas station clerk, or I identify with being a McDonald's worker, But maybe that's part of the alienation from our labor, is that if we're doing degrading labor, we can't identify with it. And that might be part of like an increased alienation from our labor if we are like, I feel no pride in what I do. I'm actually ashamed and embarrassed about what I do, Any hoozle. I'm interested to see where the whole Luigi thing goes. Like, assuming that that is the guy, I hope that he follows his lawyer's advice. Like, shh, shut up. Shut up. Keep your fucking mouth shut. It's Shut the Fuck Up Friday. Okay, let me see. Eric says, I have a friend who identifies with being a gas station worker. He loves it, gets to help his community at the store. He's proud, and that kind of helped me reframe how I see success. Yeah, I kind of wish that we lived in a society where it's easier to do that, Where, like, working in a grocery store means that you can embrace your role as a member of a community. But it's hard to do that if you're being underpaid and you're being exploited and you're constantly understaffed and you have no say in what happens at your workplace. Like, corporate comes in and rearranges your whole fucking store in ways that you can see are obviously stupid. Like, it was very frustrating for me as a retail worker when corporate or like the regional manager would come in and like move this display from here to here and adding so many new displays that I knew that we were no longer ADA compliant because the aisles have to be a certain width in order for people with wheelchairs to get in. Like, we had people with wheelchairs come in and like have a difficult time navigating to our bathroom. I worked at a truck stop. They would have a difficult time navigating to our bathroom because like there's so much shit in the store. And you're like, God, this is so fucking dumb. And like basically feeling like you're not allowed to call out sick from work, or that like you're technically supposed to get a lunch break, but you're always so slammed that that you're fucking over your coworkers by taking your lunch break. Like with so much pressure to do things that were not for your own well-being in the retail environment. But yeah, it would be great if we could take pride in being a gas station attendant. If I could be like, yeah, I am doing a valuable task for my community. Working at a local company helps a lot. Yeah, if you work at a local company, you get a good raise. They take care of you. Like, that's a little bit different. Later, Kathy. The other part of the job equals identity is that others don't value those jobs until they're useful to them. My fiance works at a Target, and no one appreciates them until COVID hit, and then they were loved. Well, and then that goes away. You're no longer considered an essential worker. You're still underpaid. Yeah, we've made record profits. Thank you all so much for your hard work. Yay, pizza for everyone. Did you guys see that post going around this week that was like an email from some company that had asked employees how they feel as far as like stress at work, and they decided to let go, like to fire the workers who had reported the highest amounts of stress at work? I think that was legit. Like, I don't think that was fake. I think that was a real internal email. Katie says, I'm on your side that Luigi might not be the shooter. I'm thinking maybe he was just a guy who was hurt by healthcare and wanted to be part of it all, possibly wants to be in jail so the guy who did it can do more and then be blamed for copycatting. Unlikely, but I love a good conspiracy theory. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's all speculation, really. We were essential workers, i.e., a sacrificial worker. True. On the daily, my fiance who works in Target is threatened, assaulted, and so are his coworkers. They literally had a person that came in, grabbed 4 of the emergency fire axes, ran around the store, and threatened the staff. Yeah, and all the bomb threats from like the Pride stuff during June this past year. I've seen plenty of movie-like stories play out in real life. Yeah. It's gonna be really interesting to see. And I'm sure that everyone is going to have eyes on it. Like, everyone's gonna be like, what are you doing? What's going on, Luigi? There are people who are like posting really weird sexual fantasies about this guy, and it's like, it's definitely, some people are doing a little bit too much. But what are you gonna do? The cops would not come back to tase this guy and arrest him for it, so their lives are threatened, and the cops' response is not our priority. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. I just feel like we need to get used to never calling the cops. Like, we need to get used to settling things on our own. And if someone is chasing someone around the store with an axe, I feel like your concealed carry is an appropriate and proportionate response to that situation. I don't know, man. Bear in mind the store was still open. Yeah, so the store is open to the public, and there's a dude running around with an axe, and the cops are just like, shrug, I don't care. Like, okay. Why are they so fucking useless? God. It's because they really just want, like, a cushy job where they get paid a lot and they can intimidate people if they feel like it. Like, really, that's what it comes down to. They don't actually want to work. Ugh. 84 likes on the video. Dang. Okay, let me just put this. I'm gonna put her over here. Baby. Oh my goodness. Look at this. I have like a scale imprint on my titties now. I don't know how easy it is to see. Just because I put that egg on my chest and it was pressed into my skin. That's so weird. Well, that's certainly one way to do it, I guess. Everyone knows cops are just legal gangs. True. True, 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 true. gangs that get tattoos for their first kill and shit. Like, yeah, it's not. They're not your friends. And anytime I see some feel good cop thing, I'm just like, don't fucking show me this again. Like, turn it off. You're slowly turning into a furry / scaly. I've already been there. What do you think the wings are for? What do you think that's about? Oh, gosh. Cleavage. A little bit of cleavage. Some scales. Anyway. Yeah, someone's new. Okay, so let's talk about Nancy Mace for a second here. Nancy Mace. What did I come back to? Well, this egg, it was in the box when we got to the first donation, and then typically I try to keep whatever it is in frame for a while. So I put it in my shirt, and then it gave me a red imprint of scales on my booble area. Comrade Jazz, welcome to the website. Thank you for joining up. Good to have you. This has so much good texture. I'm just gonna end up, like, molesting this egg the entire show, unless I put it over here. There we go. And there's the other box. Oh, let me change this. So if people want, we have $75 to the second stream goal, in which case I will open the smaller chest that we have over here. The tiny box. Little box. Yes, money well spent. Yeah, that you got a bonus you weren't expecting. Cleavage. I've been here before, just wanted a username change. Oh, okay, fair. No worries. If you're into the furry fandom, there's some friends I should tell you to meet in the PNW. You mean, like, basically fucking any queer person in the PNW? I don't think it's gonna be hard to find furries up there. I've been here before as Sourflower and Xantasy. Oh, okay. You're here making multiple accounts. It's okay. We're not bothered. Yeah, let's talk about Nancy Mace for a second. So not only did she drop the hard T recently, and she said, like, oh, these trannies, blah, 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 blah. But, she was at an event or something for foster youth, basically. And a former foster kid who is now an advocate for fosters, or like adopted kids or whatever, people in the system, kids in the system, spoke to Nancy Mace after this event on the Capitol in front of onlookers, like in front of other people. Oh, yeah, I don't have a bank account, so it's the only way I can change it. No worries. You can also ask. I mean, it's fine. It's also okay to make new accounts. I don't care, but yeah, so Nancy Mace, she shook hands with this person, and he asked her to please protect trans youth, I think. So let me see. Is there a... So the guy is called James McIntyre. He shook her hand and asked her to protect the rights of transgender people. And then Nancy Mace accused him of assaulting her. Like, this was in front of people. So there's basically no way you could have assaulted her without a bunch of people being like, yo, what the fuck, dude? So she calls the police on a prominent foster youth advocate, and eyewitnesses dispute her assault allegations. I have seen people reporting this as basically just Nancy Mace says someone assaulted her, and not saying, like, and by the way, also, people do not agree that that's what happened. Stunned onlookers say the disturbing turn of events followed a routine celebration of a landmark child welfare law. A former foster youth and award-winning advocate for children was arrested at the U.S. Capitol, which is a bizarre twist in an otherwise celebratory day of events, after South Carolina Rep. Nancy Mace accused him of assault. The incident took place outside a House of Representatives office building following an event honoring the anniversary of a landmark child welfare law, where Mace had given a speech. 3 witnesses at the scene told the imprint that their accused colleague James McIntyre had done nothing more than shake the Congress member's hand at the House reception and asked her to protect the rights of transgender people. But in a post on Twitter, Representative Mace described a violent confrontation. She says, "I was physically accosted at the Capitol tonight by a pro-trans man. 1 new brace for my wrist and some ice for my arm, and it'll heal just fine. The Capitol Police arrested the guy. Your trans violence and threats on my life will only make me double down." Capitol Police did not say whether the man was a pro-transgender demonstrator or advocate. But, and yes, Reuters, U.S. Representative Nancy Mace attacked in Capitol over transgender bill. I do think this headline was updated later by an editor on Reuters. Yeah, people on the right wing are constantly talking about how women accuse men of violent crimes that they didn't commit. Are we going to see any of those people react on this? Like, oh, you've just accused a man of physically assaulting you because he shook your hand and asked you a question, or asked you to please protect trans youth. Yeah, I guess consensually shaking someone's hand is assault now. Yeah, yeah, you assaulted me by talking to me. I'll take shit that Nancy Mace made up for 500, Alex. Yeah, you would get that 500. I don't even know if there's anything really to say about this other than just acknowledging that it happened. Nancy Mace, it seems like her entire career is going to be this kind of bullshit. Everything I've heard about her so far is she's misgendering Sarah McBride and shitting on her and introducing a bathroom bill, and some pro-trans demonstrators were arrested, which they probably shouldn't have been. They were peacefully protesting. They probably shouldn't have been arrested. And then she goes outside the place where they were being held, and she starts reading their Miranda rights to them through a megaphone. It's her entire political career at this time seems to be attention whoring around the trans issue. Yes, meanwhile, right-wingers are actual rapists and shit. And yeah, we've talked about that. How are you going to bitch about Sarah McBride using the female restroom while supporting a president who is commonly understood to be a rapist? And I'll say allegedly because, I don't know that he's ever been, properly convicted of it. But, it is stated in the reasons for one of his divorces. Was it his first wife, Ivana? Who was the reason I'm divorcing him is because he tore my hair out while sexually assaulting me. And that's not even to speak of the person who in the lead up to the 2016 election was suing him for allegedly raping her when she was 13. And she ended up dropping that suit. And his very close relationship with Epstein and his own comments about how he would walk in to the female dressing room and he's like, "Oh, you can do whatever you want. Grab him by the pussy, whatever." It's so he's basically stated he just gets away with these things. But yes, that's the guy we're supporting while also accusing trans women of being sex predators, sex pests. You don't have to say alleged. Trump is an adjudicated rapist. In what case? I'm not sure that it's well enough established. Listen, okay. Even if it is well established, guys, I have witnessed slap suits. It's not just on the news. It's not just a John Oliver thing. My friends have been subject to slap suits before. So I'm going to cover my ass and say alleged in every situation that it could possibly be misconstrued that I'm saying something about someone, you know? Like, I've seen it happen, even over very mild remarks, like not calling someone a rapist, but just calling someone creepy and saying that they make people uncomfortable. Like, I've witnessed slap suits go down like that. And if you don't have a ton of money to funnel into that, and also, like, I don't want to lose my platform as a creator, you know? So we try to be careful about these things. It was E. Jean Carroll. Let me read that real quick. Okay, so Carroll sued Trump for defamation and battery in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York. On May 9th, 2023, a jury found Trump liable for defamation and sexual abuse against Carroll and awarded her $5 million in damages. On July 19th, 2023, Judge Kaplan found that Trump did rape her, as the term is understood in, quote, common modern parlance, although not in the, quote, narrow technical meaning of a particular section of the New York penal law. Okay. Okay, so I feel more comfortable just saying he's a rapist then. Cool. Didn't know calling someone creepy was illegal. Yeah. Preponderance of the evidence is the standard he lost the case on. In other words, more likely than not. Okay, cool. Yeah, I guess this just kind of got lost in the sauce. Like, I just, in the midst of everything else going on in the last couple years, I just missed this one. Yeah. This is kind of starting to devolve into more of like just a red splotch now. By his own standards, shouldn't Trump be deported? Yeah, they're not bringing their best people. It's kind of insane that he's going to be president again. I'm like not even sure that I've fully. I'm just like checking out mentally, I think is what's happening. I'm just like, whatever, dude. God. Delicious. The lemon water. It hits. It slaps. Okay. So those were kind of some of the main things. And then I have one other thing that I wanted to talk about tonight, and then we kind of probably will call it a night after that. Let's see. So there's kind of two things going on in Florida corrections right now regarding trans people. So on the one hand, I normally look forward to Christmas, but I'm struggling because it just puts us closer to Trump. I know. I'm going to be like moving the week of the inauguration, probably. In all likelihood, like right around that time. I'm going to be so fucking busy. I'm going to be checked out and not paying attention to any of this shit around that time. I hope. So here's the first thing. The Florida Department of Corrections is attempting to, quote, reverse the gender identity of trans people in its custody, referring to trans identities as, quote, short-term delusions and withholding hormone therapy. Reviving psychiatric theories of the 1950s, they blame trans identities on, quote, childhood trauma. I just realized I think I started watching you when I was 13 and I'm 18 now. I don't want to hear that. It just made me feel old. You're fine. I'm joking. That's crazy though. Wow. Congrats on your 18th. Anyway. Under the new policy, the Department of Corrections stated that the prisons would only provide those with gender dysphoria with psychotherapy and not cross-gender hormones, except, quote, in rare instances if necessary to comply with the U.S. Constitution or a court decision. The policy argues that, quote, unaddressed psychiatric issues and unaddressed childhood trauma could lead to a misdiagnosis of gender dysphoria, and that cross-gender hormones, quote, may be requested by persons experiencing short-term delusions or beliefs which may later be changed and reversed. So obviously that's horrendous. That's horrific. That that the state of Florida thinks it knows better than the doctors who have already prescribed these medications. They've already diagnosed these patients. And of course, this is bad when trans people are being increasingly criminalized. So, they're trying to funnel more trans people into the prisons, and then they're stripping those people of their medications and basically doing the conversion therapy thing where they're like, we'll give you psychotherapy because we believe that there's some underlying issue that isn't gender dysphoria, and just sort of unilaterally decide to take away your treatment. And then at the same time, trans women in Florida prisons will be subject to breast exams to determine whether their breasts are big enough that prison officials think they should get to keep their bras. Can you imagine if it was like, is your dick big enough to wear boxers? Earlier this fall, Florida officials ordered transgender women in the state's prisons to submit to breast exams. As part of a new policy for people with gender dysphoria, prison medical staff ranked the women's breast size using a scale designed for adolescents. Those whose breasts were deemed big enough were allowed to keep their bras. Everyone else had to surrender theirs, along with anything else considered, quote, female, such as women's underwear and toiletry items. So literally, if your titties aren't big enough, you don't get to keep your panties or any other toiletry items, which I guess I don't really know what that entails in prison. I'm not sure what personal items you're allowed to have in corrections anyway. So, it's so weird. Okay, we're going to take away your medicine to make sure that your boobs stay small, and then we're not going to let you keep your bra. I understand, in prison, you probably are not allowed to have, a bra with an underwire, because you could remove the underwire and use it to do some whatever, blah, blah, blah. You could break out or whatever. Use it to hurt someone. But, a sports bra? Really? How is that not cruel and unusual punishment? Well, you see, in order for human rights to apply to trans people, they would have to be human, which I think we should just start accepting that the Republican government is going to treat us as an exception to the concept of human rights. And basically sexualizing us, forcing us to reveal our sexualized body parts. Yeah, the theories that they're citing for this are from the fucking lobotomy era. This is from the era of giving women Valium and a martini, The prison boob rating system was not on my Florida bingo card, but also I'm not surprised the state would go out of their way to abuse transgender criminals. Yes. They're creating crimes for us to commit. Guys, if you can't go use a public restroom and so you pee outside, if someone catches you, that's a sex crime. That's public indecency or public exposure. And if there's a child around, then it's indecent exposure to a minor. And there you go, you're in prison for a sex crime. And then they can do all these fucked up things to you. So it's pretty clear the direction we're headed here. What I was seeing something, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to find it, because I didn't re-skeet it. I don't think. Let me see if I can find it. It sounds like legalized SA. Well, yeah, but that's kind of. I would say it's not unique to trans people in prisons. The whole "don't drop the soap" thing. Sexual assault has for a long time been considered an acceptable form of extrajudicial punishment for prisoners. I'm here in Florida right now, and this stuff is so horrible. I could cry over how cruel all of this is. Yeah, I keep it together most of the time, but then I watch the Will and Harper documentary, and it's it all comes out, So yeah, I hope that you can get out of there. If they had their way, just being trans would be a crime. Yeah, they are probably going to try to pass there's a good chance that they will try to pass sweeping drag ban legislation like at the federal level. And if they manage to pass a federal bathroom bill, okay, well, using the bathroom anywhere while trans will be a crime, and they might consider it a sex crime. So, yeah, like, it's not going good. I spent a lot of time in Florida during my childhood. Sometimes I mourn not being able to go back safely. Yeah. Like, the state that I was born in, I can't like confidently use public restrooms without being worried. Even if I'm following the law, I'm still worried that I'm going to be accosted because, like, God forbid someone asks me a question and I respond and they hear my voice and they go, "Are you in the right bathroom?" And then I'm like, fuck. Now I have to have an interaction with the cops and shit. Like, no. Which state was it that tried to criminalize giving HRT to children as child abuse and then give child abuse the death penalty? I didn't hear that they were trying to give child abuse the death penalty. I know that in Texas, they tried to criminalize getting HRT as child abuse. And actually, maybe they've succeeded in doing that because basically they just changed the definition of child abuse outside the scope of the legislative system. Let me see if I can just find this. Man, I just typed in the word Nazi in Blue Sky and I found the post that I was looking for. Holla at ya boy. Nazi officials generally had negative views of transgender people. In what may be the only Nazi-era book on the topic, the 1938 book by Hermann Bauer says, Hermann Ferdinand Voss writes, their asocial mindset, which is often paired with criminal activity, justifies draconian measures by the state. Prior to the Nazi seizure of power, not enough could be done about trans people, he wrote, but happily now, there is the possibility of putting the people in question in protective custody, or possibly having them castrated, or via temporary appropriate detention to impress upon them that they must put their inclination on hold. In 1933, Hamburg officials wrote, police officials are requested to observe the transvestites in particular, and as required, to send them to concentration camps. And of course, historians now recognize the category of transvestite corresponded with our modern concept of transgender. So yeah, like, putting trans people in jail for their own good and forcing them to desist from identifying as trans in that context is Nazi shit. That's not news, babe. It's been going on for quite a while. It didn't even, a whole 100 years didn't even pass before we're repeating this shit. Just pretty much beat for beat, exactly the same shit. So, I just figured it was worth talking about it, even though I don't have like a whole call to action. Justifies draconian measures is the most draconian sentence possible. Yeah. Like, the idea that anything justifies draconian measures is against, like, anything justifies draconian measures against trans people is just ludicrous. The crazy thing is that they talk all about wanting people to use the bathroom of their, quote, biological gender, but if a trans man on T used the, quote, correct bathroom, would def get harassed. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was assigned female at birth, and then I've transitioned, and oftentimes I am perceived as female in public, and I am legally required to use the female restroom in the state that I live, but, like, do I use women's restrooms? Not fucking really. Because the last thing I need is to be following the law and then have someone tell me that I shouldn't be in there, you know, because of the scrutiny on trans women, which I also have to worry about. This is part of why I take very strong issue with the concept of trans misogyny exempt or trans misogyny affected. You see TMA or TME as an attempt to, like, delineate between... It's basically a way of saying, like, trans women have it worse, kind of. But like just being in proximity to trans women means it's also dangerous for people who you would not assume to be affected by trans misogyny. And like that mural that was everybody was bitching about a few weeks ago of like people were saying, "Oh my god, this is an artistic depiction of a non-passing trans woman and it looks terrible." It's like, "No, dude, that is an assigned female non-binary person." And so like even trans people within the community are like attacking this person on the basis that they are representing like trans misogynistic stereotypes. But that person isn't fucking trans femme. That person is not assigned male at birth. I actually see the TME TMA dichotomy as useful when you're examining the specific oppression faced by trans women. But what I'm trying to say is that that's fucking stupid. There are certain things faced by trans women, but the fact is that any gender ambiguous trans person can get lumped in with trans women. And like the visibility of trans women means actually that any femme trans person is going to be lumped in with trans women, even if they are not a trans woman. Like I'm a femme non-binary trans person, and I am not exempt from trans misogyny. It's kind of like, so this goes back to like an older conversation about often this conversation starts with the idea of male socialization, which like I recognize that it's not so easy. There are plenty of trans women who knew that they were weird or different when they were younger, and so their socialization is more like being socialized as a closeted trans girl instead of like being socialized male, right? But that doesn't really change the fact that society put pressures on you to be male, you know? It put the same pressures on you that it puts on non-trans men. You just internalized it in a certain way. But like I, as a pre-transition trans person, it would be silly to say I am not affected by misogyny because I don't identify as a woman. Like, that's a brain dead take. I was raised as a girl. I was pressured to be female and feminine to a certain extent. Like, you know, females have a little bit more wiggle room on this, but like I was ogled by men when I was like 13 is like the first time I remember being like ogled by an adult man. So like how you identify doesn't have really much to do with how people treat you. So to say that I'm exempt from trans misogyny because I'm not a trans woman is just like a blindingly stupid way of observing how people actually are impacted in the world. Like, I'm worried about experiencing trans misogynistic violence in the female restroom where I'm legally supposed to be. You know? So I just think that it's like a lot more nuanced, and that the concept of TME/TMA is just a way of people trying to say like trans women have it worse, which is just fucking stupid. But anyway. And like, yeah, certain things affect trans women and certain things affect trans men that don't affect each other. Like a trans woman, for the most part, trans women are not affected by like a difficulty accessing gynecological care. But some trans women are affected by that. Like if you are post surgery, like if you've had a vaginoplasty, you need to see a gynecologist. And if you are visibly trans, then you could be prevented from getting that care in the same way that a lot of trans men who look like men are prevented from getting that care, to the point where you can die of ovarian cancer because doctors just refuse to treat you, as in the case of Robert Eads. So yeah, I just see it as like some really dumb online stuff. Hey, stuntman, that's great news. They say, "Hey Luxander, I got that dual undercut hairstyle and it turned out great. Loads of people are saying my trim looks cool. Thanks." Nice. Yeah. I need to cut my hair. That's that's kind of part of why I'm wearing a hat today, is because my hair on this side was just like it's like sticking out, and it's like a full inch long up here, and it's just like my hair right now. So I need to shave it. I just haven't gotten around to it. I'll probably try to do it this week. Just try to shave my head and... Yep. I feel like turfs would probably assume you were a trans woman. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know what I look like. I know what I sound like. Like, I get away most of the time with just being perceived as a cis female, but I know that it only takes one person going like, why does your voice sound like that? And like, I wear a mask everywhere. So like, mostly people are going off of the hair. But if I have my hair up and I'm wearing baggy clothes, I don't even need to talk. And like, before I ever started tea, when I had my hair cut short, people would look at me weird in the women's restroom sometimes. And this was before all of this, you know, hysteria around trans people. Like, I'm very aware that the bathroom is a fraught location. In a box. How dare you? Thank you for the $75 dono. That's crazy. Happy Yuletide to you and your family. Thank you. Ooh, what day is Yule? It's like technically a Saturday or Sunday. So I guess we technically have a Yuletide stream this year. We could do it on the 22nd. But yes, thank you. That's very sweet. I appreciate that. My Yuletide is probably not going to be crazy, because I'm trying to save money right now, but I'm definitely going to do stocking stuffers. But thank you. That means that we've hit our second donation goal for today, mostly thanks to in a box. So thank you very much. Let me just update that so that the bar number go up. Okay. So this is a follow-up to a previous in a box that we've had. A previous in the chest that we've had. You might remember a few weeks ago, but this time he's little. He's a tiny Stitch. He's a tiny beach Stitch. He's wearing a little tank top and some beach shorts. Look at him. And you might remember a few weeks ago I showed you this. So I've got my little Stitches. I had one Stitch doll that just happened to fit really neatly between my boobs and was really good for cuddling, and then now I'm being gifted little tiny Stitches. So okay, he's gonna fall. I'm gonna put him back down there. Look at him. He's so cute. He's like this is like a chibi version of Stitch, and Stitch already has a lot of very chibi qualities. Your voice sounds super cool. You could do audiobooks. I have been told that before. I did think about doing a thing where I would read like The Conquest of Bread by Peter Kropotkin. I'm not sure if I will go around and do that. Can you tuck the little one into the beanie? Yeah, I put him here. I was like, maybe that would work. But I can put him up here. Just tuck him in. Like a little baby. There he is. Oh, look at him. He looks so comfy. He looks so cozy. Thank you. Stuntman777 has joined the memberships as a muse. Thank you very much. That's very kind. I appreciate that. I hope that you enjoy the members-only community posts that I post pretty regularly, and also the extended cuts of all of my video essays, of which there are only 2 right now. I'm expecting that the next video essay I upload, or again, it's going to be more of an outline than an essay, but I'm assuming that that one is probably going to have quite a lot of material that I cut from it. So the public version will be probably, notably shorter than the members only and patrons only version. So thank you. Appreciate that. Oh gosh, do we have anything else that we can just kind of mull over for probably the next 10 minutes before I get off of here? I'm feeling a lot better than I did earlier today with the whole headache situation, but I'm still like it's not in a good mood. So I'm not sure that I can stretch this out for another hour. My voice also hurts. But yes, now we have Stitch. Look at him, baby. He has such gigantic eyes. And they're like shiny. He's got like shiny, glittery eyes. What a cute baby. What a dumb, cute baby. There he is. He's warm and safe. Forever. Warm and safe forever. Oh no. Yeah, I also hope I feel better soon. I'm hoping I sleep better tonight because I got the space heater going, and then also hopefully I will not have a headache again. I should have just taken ibuprofen before bed last night. It probably would have made everything a lot better. Mm. Drink lots of water, everybody. 'Tis the season for your heater to be on all the time, which dehydrates you. You don't think so, but it dries out your skin, which dehydrates all the rest of you. Drink lots of water, okay? I wish all headaches go to hell no matter what. Yeah. I don't get them very often, but I think it was just something about my neck and my posture. Just was not fun. It was not a good time. I keep refilling the humidifier and drinking teas with electrolytes. Yeah, do that for sure. Random thought, Luigi Mangione could use the precedent of Daniel Penny's acquittal to argue for vigilante justice. IDK if I think he should, but he could. Yeah, so it is kind of crazy that in the midst of this whole thing happening with Luigi Mangione, so Daniel Penny, if you guys are not familiar, you probably heard the story, maybe you don't remember the guy's name, but there was a white guy who choked out a homeless black guy on a New York subway. And because the guy was like acting erratically or something, this white dude decided to take it upon himself to put this guy in a chokehold and held him there so long that he died. Like, I think 6 minutes he held the dude in a chokehold just for being kind of erratic, which, like, welcome to New York City, baby. People are fucking erratic, and homeless people are sometimes in that group of people. And he has been declared, like, not guilty of that crime. Daniel Penny, the white guy who just straight up killed a black dude for being kind of loud and scary, I guess. Not brandishing a gun, not threatening anyone that I am aware of. And he's been acquitted this week. So it's just crazy. And it's crazy how the right wing is like praising Daniel Penny while condemning Luigi Mangione, like assuming again that Luigi is our guy. Yeah, Daniel Penny is a Marine, and he did this to a starving Michael Jackson impersonator. And honestly, it's because, like, the killing of, and I feel so bad, I can't remember the guy's name. But of course, all the headlines are about Daniel Penny, and I'm terrible with names anyway. So the killing of this black dude that upholds white supremacist hegemony. Hegemony was the word that I was looking for earlier. While Luigi Mangione's killing of the CEO is disruptive to the order. So it's like, it's not about murder being bad. It's about who gets murdered that people really care about, you know? And I guess, to be fair, I have an opposite bias where I obviously think that Daniel Penny should go to jail forever or potentially be executed. But I'm also secretly hoping, not really secretly, but I'm like hoping in my heart of hearts that the adjuster doesn't get caught or convicted or whatever, you know? So it's like, yeah, differing perspectives on this. But, you know, my view is that white supremacy is bad, and also that CEOs of healthcare companies are bad. Jordan Neely, thank you. I knew I kept seeing that name around, and I just didn't connect the dots in my head. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Doing this live show, like, I just have to acknowledge that I'm going to be wrong sometimes and not have the full information, and I'm going to reveal my biases live in front of everybody, and I just have to be willing to correct myself. So, thank you for reminding me of that. Like, I've seen the name, I knew the name, I just didn't connect it to this particular issue. My understanding of the situation is that the homeless dude did sound threatening, but it's like the George Floyd situation in that even if all the reasons for the altercation go in the other guy's favor, there's no way you choke someone for 6 minutes without intending them to die. Yes. It's like, even if that person was being antisocial, there's still no justification for just straight up killing them in broad daylight in front of God and everybody. I mean, it's like, this is like the legacy of lynching. I think people are rightly using the term lynching for a white person, not a cop, just a dude, to kill a black dude and then be acquitted of that crime. Like, Jordan Neely was lynched. Even if I grant you every reason this dude needed to be subdued, it still should have been some kind of murder charge. Yeah. Like, the thing that's kind of crazy to me about it, too, is that the state is supposed to absorb all of the violence into itself. Like, this is part of what anarchist theory is about, is, like, governments informing themselves, they say the only legitimate form of violence is something that we do as the state. Like, police action, even when violent, is always justified. And you're not allowed to do violence, and if you do violence, then we will do violence on you by killing you or incarcerating you or whatever. So it's interesting to see the state start to loosen those. And I mean, not really start to. Again, because, yes, white lynch mobs were often not comprised of police or other officials. It was just white people in a community who would decide to kill a black person, most of the time a black man, and then just treat it like a Sunday spectacle and then get an ice cream and go home, you know? So I guess it's not, I shouldn't say like this is a new concept or anything, but it is interesting seeing the ways in which the government sometimes like lets some citizens, they kind of loosen their grip on the leash a little bit to allow white supremacist violence against black people. Something just occurred to me. Has the line ever had a dark-skinned host on? I am not sure. I know we are, at least on the Transatlantic Call-In Show, I'm not really part of broader conversations about the whole network, but on Takis, we are aware that it is a pretty white show. Although, to be fair, Josie Caballero, like, we have a regular host who is a person of color. She obviously is light-skinned. But, you know, it's not like... And people love her. She's one of our main hosts. People want to see her on more. So it's, you know, it's not like we don't have people of color. But I recognize that many of our primary hosts are white. And pretty much all of our main hosts are light-skinned. So, like, I recognize it. We are aware. We want to reach out to more people. We also don't want to have people on who, like, our guest episodes don't do as well unless the guest has, like, name recognition. So, like, if we brought Kat Black on, if she ever wanted to, I think maybe we've talked about it before. But if we wanted to bring Kat Black on, you know, that would be an option, but there aren't as many big content creators who are dark-skinned and atheists and skeptics and interested in talking about those things on a broad platform, you know? So it's not because we don't want to have those people on, basically. There have been at least 2 black guests on Chewed Gum. Okay, there you go. Durante Lenar, Maya Adkison, Cynthia, lots of POC folks have hosted the line. Yeah. And I don't go on any of our other shows, and I also don't watch any of our other shows. And I only just joined the line earlier this year. So I am not as knowledgeable. Probably some fans, like, Ember from the Transpositions podcast, she is a... Ember, are you one of the call screeners, or is that Stephanie? I forget that the show is primarily an atheist one. Yeah, that's the other thing, too, is, like, there aren't as many dark-skinned folks who are willing to speak out against Christianity. And, like, that we all are coming from that perspective. That's the whole fucking thing, is, like, we have Matt Dillahunty, all of us are coming at this from, like, an atheist perspective. I'm not sure that we've had any religious co-hosts. And, like, statistically, people of color tend to be more... They're fairly religious as... Like, I mean, you've got, like, Catholics, Mexican association there. Very heavy association between Christianity and black folks. And, like, they have to be worried about, like, family rejection in a way that I think a lot of white folks don't have to worry about family rejection for our religious beliefs as much. I am going to be on Takis this week, by the way. I will be on the Transatlantic Call-In Show on Thursday, I think this week and next week. And then I won't be on the last week, the day after Christmas. I think I will not be on. But I think we're going to try to do some kind of Christmas show. So, like, I might still be on, like, a Takis holiday show on Christmas. I'm not totally certain what the plan is for that. But the thing about the line is you'd also have to have people who are interested in taking potentially adversarial conversations, which is not everyone's cup of tea. And heaven forbid to some people that they get called a debate bro / sis. Yeah. And, any person of color who comes on our show, any of our shows, it's going to be a different audience than the one that they have built for themselves. So I don't know if this is a consideration that other hosts have, but I definitely want to make sure that if a black person, for example, comes on the show, we want to do what we can, or I want to do what we can to protect that person from racist harassment or abuse. And it's like, obviously our moderators do a very good job of moderating this in the chat, and our call screeners do a really good job of making sure that bad faith actors don't actually get on the show in the first place to just say the N-word and then hang up. But yeah, you have to be careful in terms of, like, you want to make sure you're not unduly exposing a minority individual, like a person who belongs to a minority group, to a potentially abusive group, because those shows are not just viewed by people who are atheists and agree with our positions. The whole fucking point is that we get callers who are religious and oppose our views. So yeah, like, the person has to have a large enough platform that it's, like, worth having them on, basically. They have to be coming from that atheist perspective. They have to be interested themselves in coming on the show. So there's just a lot of factors that go into it. But we're aware. Like, trust me, we have internal conversations about, like, how can we make this show a little bit less white? But yeah, so tomorrow I will be on Takis. I also have a bunch of errands that I need to run tomorrow, and I'm not going to have very much free time tomorrow. But yeah, and Takis has been running long. I feel like we've been running long a lot lately. Like, we start at 2 p.m. Central Time, and I feel like we've been going to 5:30 pretty regularly on my days that I host. Maya had less than 1K subs when she was on. It isn't always a matter of channel size. I mean, so it's not always a matter of channel size, but if we have someone on with 1K subs, and, like, it's like part of the point of collaborating is to benefit each other's platforms. So, like, when I go on Takis, people want to watch me specifically, partially because I have built an audience. So people come to the show who otherwise wouldn't watch Takis or otherwise wouldn't be watching shows on the line. And at the same time, people who watch the line come here and hang out in this chat. Like Skeptoideus is somebody who is from Takis. Like that's the first time I've seen them in chat was on Takis, and then they come over here and become a fan of ours. So like if we have someone on who has very few subs, like we might do that once in a while, but it is not a good business decision to have people on who are unknowns, you know? Which, like, it sucks that everything that you do on YouTube, you have to keep in mind, like, there is a business decision underneath everything that you do. Like, even when you're trying to just do something that you love, like I'm trying to do these video essays because I want to do media analysis, well, I do have to always be thinking about, like, okay, well, how can I market this? If it's a video that I want to make, how can I market this in a way that people will want to watch it, which kind of takes some of the magic out of it. I guess it takes a little bit of the love out of it to some extent. And it's you never want to outright say like it's a bad business decision to have a black person on the channel, right? But like to some extent, we are subject to a market in which like people don't take black people seriously or they're racist against black people. So like that's why there aren't as many big black creators, because it's harder for them, not only from the algorithm, but also again because of the abuse. Team Dragon, it's true. Yep. Oh. I have no idea what the show is going to be like tomorrow. That's always a fun thing where you're like, I don't know. Who's going to call in? Are we going to get any adversarial calls? Are we going to have only a bunch of trans people calling in? And so it's basically just like 3 hours of me being a therapist. Like, oh boy. I don't really post a lot anyway. My thing is I want to reach as many people as possible, but political content tends to have low viewership rates. Honestly, that is part of why I am okay. So I'm in a transition period with my channel where I've previously built this audience on trans politics bullshit. And I have always felt like there's a limit, like there's a ceiling. My channel will never get past 50,000 subscribers if I ever get there. Because nobody cares. Like, there are very few people who care about trans politics and, you know, non-binary politics specifically. So the audience that I've built doesn't really care that much about my media analysis stuff. But if I can get past that initial hurdle and and have the videos start be recommended to a broader audience, I will have broader appeal, and therefore it will be easier to grow the channel to more people. Like, I could see, like, if the video essays start to do well, you could end up, I could have like 100,000 subscribers, which would obviously make a lot more money. There would be a lot more reach. There would be a lot more reason for people to want to collaborate with me. Like, guys, one time, Jimmy Snow, Mr. Atheist, on his original channel, decided that he wanted to do a video with me that was like LGBTQ terminology. And we did like an educational video talking about LGBTQ terminology. He had gotten to 100,000 subscribers, and I think he dropped back below 100,000 because of that video, because of my presence on his channel. Like, there was a period of time, and it was not just him. I think, who else was it? Oh, it was I think Godless Cranium. I can't remember his channel name. But like it happened a couple times where I went on an atheist channel and it hurt that person's channel for them to have me on. So like I understand. And then Jimmy has not had me on his main channel since then. It's not a good business decision to have a trans person and especially a non-binary person who people view as like a woke SJW on your atheist channel. It's bad for business. And it felt terrible. But like that just is the way that it is. I don't like whether I am personally off-putting or not. What I am is off-putting to people. Isha, welcome to the website. Says the algorithm brought me to you because I'm trans, but I stuck around because you're cool, not because you talk trans politics. For what it's worth, thank you. Yeah, and I'm happy to be getting away from talking about the trans politics stuff. I like talking about it on stream, but I do not like editing them and posting them anymore. So like, I want to talk about other things. I want to have a better balance of talking about trans politics, and then I can spend the rest of my time talking about something else. Every time Drew, genetically modified skeptic, posts an LGBT-related video, he loses thousands of subs. Yeah. It's really sad. It's really frustrating. I lost half my community when I started my transition too. Shrug, but still. Yeah. It's not nice. I feel like it's kind of unique. I guess it were for gay people and trans people too, but I think especially for trans people. Like, if you're black or otherwise a person of color, that's your whole life. You've been dealing with it since you were a kid. I think it is weird to have this happen to you later in life where you're like, I was kind of being accepted and now I'm not anymore. Like, I was part of the in group and now I am an outlier. Like, now I'm in the out group because I came out. So yeah, I mean, it's just a little weird in some ways. But I'm not like, oh, woe is me or whatever. It just is the way that it is, you know? And even when I'm like, yeah, if I keep talking about trans politics specifically, there will be a cap on how big my channel can get. I'm not like, oh, woe is me. I'm just like, that's the fact. People, even if I try to talk about mainstream issues, people hear my voice and they go, what are you? You know what I mean? So even then, I might still run into those hurdles if I continue along this way where I'm making video essays and I'm doing media analysis and I'm talking about more unrelated things. There's a good chance that there will still be that ceiling. And then like people perceive me as femme and I feel like that makes people take me less seriously. I view this, it's kind of interesting, like even amongst the trans people who are successful, I feel like there are more successful trans femmes than there are trans masculine people. And it's hard sometimes not to view that as like people are just treating us like our assigned gender. Like that my trans femme colleagues are being taken more seriously because they were assigned male, as opposed to me being assigned female and it just being like, oh, bless your heart, darling. Like, oh, you're just one of those. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure that that's what's actually happening, but it kind of seems that way sometimes. And it's a little bit frustrating. But like, even assuming I don't put the trans thing forward, people are going to probably reflexively see me as female. Like, I'm femme, I have the long hair. I wore like a plunging neckline shirt when I did my most recent video essay. So yeah, I'm gonna be facing basically the same kind of misogynistic hurdles that keep women from being successful. And it's just like, yeah, whatever, dude. You just have to kind of keep doing what you're doing and just keep it moving. Just keep doing what you're doing. I feel like there's not much else to do. There's not much else to add or whatever. Oh boy. I think we might go ahead and call it there. I know it's a little early, but I did say earlier that I wasn't sure if we were going to go the full night because, again, I spent my entire day just headachy and feeling like garbo. So, anyhoozle. thank you for all of the donations. I'm glad that we got to open the boxes. That doesn't always happen, so that's wonderful. I'll put in new things for next time. I'm planning to see you all on Sunday. If you want to watch me on Takis tomorrow, I'll see you on Takis. But yeah, so Takis tomorrow at 2 p.m. Sunday show. And yeah, so time for some tea and tasty foods. Yes, absolutely. I'm gonna get myself some dinner figured out here soon. So thanks for hanging out, everybody. I've appreciated you. Thanks. I'm in a better mood than I was when I started the stream, and that is because you all are such fun interlocutors. So thanks for that. And yeah, have a good rest of your week, everybody. Don't get in trouble.